How long have you been at Kamar-taj, Mr.
Doctor.
Mr. Doctor?
It's strange.
Maybe.
Hello and welcome back to A Stark Contrast, where we discuss the differences and similarities from Marvel Comics to their MCU counterparts. And we are your hosts, Geoffrey
and Dai.
Welcome back,
Happy
everybody. It is a new year. Oh my gosh.
Dude, Jeff, how are you?
I am good.
I mean, it's been a while. It's been
a long time. Holidays were kind of, I wouldn't say crazy, but it's just like, I felt like, I don't know. I feel like with these, like, even though I literally had 2 weeks exactly off, like no work, the office was closed.
Oh, right.
But but my sister and her husband were home.
Nice.
They visited. But so it's like, I always feel like there's always something to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's maybe like 1 or 2 days where I just like, I was able to just like stay home and do nothing.
Right.
Which is like, I don't mind. It's fine.
That's cool.
But it's just like, even holidays, even though it's a break, you're still like always doing something
every day. You're in the thicket of it because everybody else is off or people are mostly off.
Yeah. And it's like, you might as well, you have the time off. And it's just like, sometimes you just like want to like just not do anything.
Especially that sweet 2-week vacation that is like an industry standard, for the record, which I kind of miss.
Yeah, it was weird. This is my first time I've had a legit 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
But also not have to worry about being paid.
Yeah.
And everything. So I was just like, oh, this is just straight up just 2 weeks of
That's
just
it.
like
They're
nothing.
Just like, go home.
Yeah. I was just like, this is weird.
Or stay home.
It's been like, 3 or 4 years since that. So
it's good stuff, man.
I know.
But I mean, like, New Year. Also, I just wanted to say that little intro that you did on the mashup episode. Oh my God, it's so cute.
Thanks, I try.
Jeff. It was sweet. No, it was really great. So for those of you who are just kind of like new to the show or whatnot, we wrapped up our first quote unquote year with a Marvel mashup of all of the episodes that we have done so far. And Jeff recorded this really sweet intro. And so if you haven't listened to it, please go back and listen to it. And but yeah, you know, off the top of your head, can you name all 19 episodes that came before this one?
Gosh.
This is the ultimate quiz.
I know.
Like, screw the Iron Man one. Right? This is the one that matters.
I know. We got Iron Man. We got... Oh.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I'm just trying to remember the exact order. And
you know what would be helpful? If you think about the logos.
Oh, I know.
Come on.
I could literally just look at my computer because I have every episode like lined up on my hard drive.
Yeah.
Iron Man, Spidey.
There you go.
Cap.
Yep.
Scarlet.
Yep.
Black Widow. Oh no, Scarlet. Oh no, Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch. Then it's Black Widow. No.
No.
Oh my gosh.
Come on. Hint: Disney Plus.
Oh. Mother Trucks. What was that? Oh. Foul. No. Oh my God.
Burdened with glorious purpose.
Oh, Loki. Okay.
And then
it's
Mini Marvel. I'll give you that one. And then.
Dude, you know it better than you already know it.
Well, I'm staring at it all the time. So I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
No, you're good. You're good. No, but it's should I go back and check it out? Wow. Because I made this like crazy little GIF that has all the covers. So we're looking at Iron Man, Spider-Man, Captain America, Scarlet Witch, Loki, Mini Marvel, Black Widow, Jessica Jones, Black Panther, What If, Shang-Chi, Mini Marvel, Venom, Vision, Hawkeye, Eternals, and then the Mini Marvel, other Mini Marvel.
No,
Star-Lord.
Star-Lord.
Oh, they blipped.
Star-Lord.
Sorry, my computer blipped. I swear to God.
Nice.
Is he there? No, he's there. Yeah. Star-Lord. Star-Lord.
Wow, that's crazy.
So basically every 6th episode is a Mini Marvel, if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, so here we are. We're leaning into Number big 20.
I know, 20. I wouldn't even imagine 20 episodes.
That's so crazy.
Like when I listen to podcasts, sometimes they're like, "Oh my god, this is like our 300th episode, or this is like our 100th episode," and I'm like, "Holy crap!"
And
like,
we're like,
really,
we're in our number 20.
like you have to like really like just grind it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, imagine if we released weekly,
we would be at 40.
God.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's crazy. Yeah, so before we get into today's character study, I just wanted to quickly say a big thank you to our Patreon patrons.
Yes.
Because if you are a Patreon patron, you may have received this email from us, basically saying, "New year, new gear. We got our stuff."
Oh yeah, we are.
Geoffrey's living. So. Yeah, thank you. This is a great way to start 2022.
I know. If you guys hear the sound quality improve, or you notice an improvement, just know it's this new gear that was literally thanks to all of our patrons.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can tell my excitement.
We can hear your smile.
I am like so excited because I love using new tech. I love using new gear, and like especially in a new creative space that we are doing podcasts. This is like. Oh, this is amazing.
So good. And of course, thanks to our friend Stephen Ray Morris, who suggested the gear in particular that we should get because he uses it on all of his awesome podcasts. So thanks, Stephen. But definitely thank you to our Patreon patrons because honestly, and I mentioned this in the message, is that, that we couldn't have upgraded like this anytime soon.
100%.
Yeah, especially like on, we're both adulting in our own ways. And so to have it be supplemented by people who really believe in the show is just the coolest thing ever. So thank you. Speaking of gifts, we received this awesome Marvel day-to-day calendar from our We Are Groot Patreon patron, or actually our very first Patreon ever, Ms. Jo Liz in over in New York. And so she sent this calendar, which is something that I used to collect back in the day as well.
Oh my gosh, what don't you collect? That is the real question.
It's like, okay, if it's Marvel, if it's got Marvel on it, I probably had it at one point. But when I was little, I used to buy these, and then every day, this is in fact how I know so much about comic books. I will be very honest, because these things are literally 365 fun facts, one for each day.
Oh my gosh.
But usually, they kind of compact weekends, so it's like one. But each day is a very different character. They're not any one thing. And so they go from comic book facts to just facts that you would find on the cards and stuff like that. So Jo Liz thought it would be fun for us to kind of share fun facts at random.
Oh, let's do it. Yeah.
So for today, we're recording on January 8th. And so it is a weekend, and it's for January 8th and 9th. And so today's fun fact comes from the powers and weapons section, I guess, of this calendar. And it focuses on the Red Skull.
Oh.
So this is kind of cool because this is going to help us cover like even just a little like a little zhuzh of a character that we haven't covered yet.
Oh, yeah, it's true, yeah.
Or we may not cover as extensively. So this one's on Red Skull, and it says the Red Skull is a genius at military, political, and subversive strategy. His brilliance combined with his skill in hand-to-hand combat and expert marksmanship makes him a dangerous foe, though he was never a match for Captain America.
That's true.
So it's like, oh yeah, he's hand-to-hand combat. Like, wow, okay, he was hand-to-hand combat. But he still couldn't lick Captain America.
Nope, so not a chance, buddy old pal.
That's our fun fact for the weekend. So that said, on to our episode. As always, we are not experts. We do not claim to be. We are simply two fans enjoying dialogue over a single character. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please let us know. Mm-hmm. So, today's character was created by Steve Ditko and Stan Lee. So this is kind of like going back to an even older age of comic book characters. When you hear the words or the name Steve Ditko, it's a very specific like time frame, if you will. the year isn't so off, but depending on when you look at the publish date for this character, it might say 1951, but the actual published date of the comic book was 1963.
Whoa.
It's wild. So anyway, today's character is one of Geoffrey's favorites, and actually quite honestly, like
he's
one of mine.
grown on me.
So yeah,
Like,
absolutely. So Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange.
He was meant to be the best of us.
So is that your Tilda Swinton?
That is. It is. It's my guy. Yeah. I mean, I think, but it's also a credit to like how great Benedict Cumberbatch is playing this character.
Oh my gosh, I always forget he is English.
Yes. A lot of people are.
And he's surrounded by English characters, and it's just like, oh yeah, he's English.
Yeah.
But then the lack of accent. And then
he's great.
He's just so good.
I mean, shout outs to Marvel casting, but it's just like, he is Doctor Strange.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. And of course we'll get into that whole hullabaloo much later when it comes to casting. But, as I mentioned, his first appearance in the comic books was actually in Strange Tales number 110 in July 1963 or 1951, depending on where you're looking. And so the cover reads, one of the covers actually, because there's two covers. The one more traditional cover that you'll see, it focuses on the Human Torch. So Strange Tales is kind of like a culmination issue where they have two separate stories that are in one book. Mm-hmm. And so this one happened to have the Human Torch at the forefront, and then the latter half had Doctor Strange. And so, when you look at the original cover, it's very focused. Again, it's very focused on the Human Torch. But if you look on the digital cover, which is kind of funny, it quite literally says the Wizard and the Human Torch versus the Wizard and Paste Pot Pete.
What?
I don't know if I've mentioned. I think maybe I mentioned him in the Spider-Man episode. But two of my ridiculous street level villains, my favorite ones, are Stiltman.
Okay.
Who is, again, quite literally a man on stilts.
I mean, I don't know how you can get more straightforward than that.
And Paste Pot Pete. And there's this issue where it's a full page just full of, panels, and this character like announces himself to Spider-Man. He's like, "Oh, you'll feel the wrath of Paste Pot Pete." And Spidey in true classic Spider-Man form is like,
what?
Paste Pot Pete? And he just starts laughing.
It's a mouthful.
He just starts laughing for 3 panels. And the guy's like, no, no, I'm formidable. And so this guy is one of the main players in this issue where Doctor Strange first appears. But he is not in the same story, sadly.
Oh,
I know.
What a shame.
What a shame,
What a
right?
shame.
Paste Pot Pete. And by the way, he's literally carrying a pot of paste. So it's a glue. It's like a glue bucket.
It's like the most like literal thing in the world. Jesus.
Gotta love the gold and silver age.
I know, man.
And so that issue, Strange doesn't even come in until like, what am I looking at here? About page 15 of 19, if you're going digital version.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's not even in until the last quarter of the episode of the issue. But yeah, it's a very interesting introduction to this character and a very old school. And by the way, related to first appearances, I've gone back to all of our published episodes, and I've added the first appearance for every character we've covered in the show notes. So if anybody's interested in reading those comics, they're there for you. You can figure out where to buy them or buy them digitally, if not physical copies.
Wow.
So enjoy. So what was your first exposure to Doctor Strange?
I think. Oh. Well. Oh, well, that's tough. Like probably what Spider-Man was that? Spider-Man 1 or 2? Where Joey Jonas Jameson, he's like, oh, it was Spider-Man 2. They were like, oh, like
Far From Home.
No.
Oh, Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man 2,
Oh,
Toby,
wow.
where they're, I think it was J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah.
And they were talking like, oh, what should we call him? Dr. Octopus?
Oh, right.
And they're like, oh, Doctor Strange. She was like, that's good. But it's taken.
Oh my gosh, that's such a deep cut. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Oh my gosh, that's
And he's
great.
like, Doc Ock. And he's like, it's good.
And did you know who the character was when they said that, or were you just kind of like, huh, that's interesting?
I think it was maybe just like, oh, that's an interesting. Like,
Right.
I think I was super vaguely.
And that's one of those like early homages to like multiverse,
Yeah.
or like other characters exist.
and then the next iteration or next case was Winter Soldier,
Oh yeah,
where with Project Insight, and
Yeah.
they're interviewing the bald guy or whatever, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's like the algorithm, it targets so I was like Bruce Banner, Doctor Strange, or Stephen Strange,
Yeah.
and you're just like whoa,
that's a name.
what does
that's a
that
name.
mean?
Yeah.
And then Winter Soldier came out 2000.
I want to say
Was that-
15.
Yeah, 15. I was gonna say 16, but that was Civil War.
Yeah,
So it must have came
15. Yeah,
out 14.
14. 14. Yeah.
So I don't know if by that time Doctor Strange was announced yet
Yeah,
for
I
a
don't
movie, because
remember.
Doctor Strange came out 2017.
Yeah.
And so
Which also, that's crazy. It's been 4 years, 5 years.
5 years now.
Yeah.
And he's been in countless films, and he's
crazy.
played like a major part in these
player.
movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
It's so crazy.
well, he's literally like the savior of Infinity War
Yeah.
and Endgame.
He's why we won. Yeah, I can't remember. He was always there. Maybe I want to say probably because of the trading cards. So maybe something in the late 80s, if not early 90s. I was like, I know who he is. And he was always like very, very iconic because of like the way he looks. And he always has this mystical aura around him. And I used to like, I know when I was little, I used to kind of like compare him. I'm pretty sure I'd like, when I was a baby, when I was like 8 or 9, I was like, him and Mr. Fantastic are brothers because they both have the white hair.
Oh, the white hair.
Yeah. And,
It's the goatee for me.
Yeah, right. The facial hair bros, as they call it in the comics. But yeah, so let's take a look at the trading cards. Speaking of, so you know what, which is kind of crazy, among all of the characters I could possibly have a lot of cards of, I feel like Doctor Strange is one of the ones that I have very many of. I mean,
Nice.
the X-Men are kind of, that's kind of a no-brainer because I collected X-Men sets. But of the Marvel's like superheroes, I feel like I have a lot of Strange. So let's see what we got here. We got 1993 Marvel Universe. This is an interesting one from the Hildebrandt brothers. It's an alter ego of Strange.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he almost looks like Spawn. He's like
Yeah, I was
green
gonna
and
say.
purple. Marvel Masterpieces 93.
Nice.
Marvel Universe 92. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
the one I want to read is from 92 Marvel Masterpieces by Joe Jusko. And then this might sound a little familiar to you and anybody else who is very familiar with this character. When Master Surgeon Stephen Strange injured his hands in an auto accident, he traveled the world in a desperate search for a cure that would allow him to practice medicine again. Instead, what he found was the hidden Tibetan retreat of the Ancient One, a sorcerer who took Strange as his disciple and taught him the mystic arts. Now armed with the cloak of levitation and the blinding eye of Agamotto, Doctor Strange fulfills his true destiny as Sorcerer Supreme, fearlessly defending Earth from all manner of magical attacks.
I mean, that's literally the first movie. It's like the first
Dude,
20 minutes of like the first movie.
Really, yeah. And I went back and watched it last weekend or the other night, just because I was like, yeah, let me watch this again. Because honestly, like you said, he's not only a main player in the MCU, but also just the cultivation of this character is, to me, almost underrated because he is really great. Like he's a really great character. And
I
like,
agree.
And to this card, again, this card is from 1993. The fact that this card that is essentially 20 something, 30 years old.
Almost 30, yeah.
Is almost identical to the premise of that first film.
Yeah.
Like, damn, chef's kiss.
Really holds true.
Yeah, right? Like, that's incredible. That's a hard thing to do, especially with a mystical character.
Yeah, not many of the MCU movies stuck true to the comic origin.
Yeah, and that's pretty on point.
It's pretty on point. It's literally like the first, yeah.
Yep. And I mean, goes without saying, Dr. Stephen Strange, he's an MD, he's a doctor. And like the card said, he gets in an auto accident. And so it's kind of like what I said with the Steve Rogers episode and the Captain America episode, where, just hearing this short paragraph about the character, you can match it cinematically. Like from when he's, driving on that hillside.
Oh, I know, yeah.
That beautiful piece by what is it, Michael Giacchino?
Yes.
Yeah, Hands Dealt, which is one of my favorite songs from the MCU, is playing, and all this stuff, and like it's so to the T. It's like, what more can you say? That's literally the character.
I know. The Strange theme song too is pretty cool.
Oh, it's just so good. Yeah. And so from Marvel.com, they kind of go a little further in, which is kind of identical to the modern version that we are now familiar with. They essentially, mention, he's one of the most brilliant neurosurgeons. Stephen Strange's arrogance and self-centered nature grew alongside his skill until his ego far outweighed his career, proceeding to close himself off from only the most wealthy and influential patients. Everything changed for the man. One fateful night, he got in the car crash. The rest as we know it. So it's it's interesting because his personality traits are very almost Tony Starky.
Of course.
Who is his facial hair bro? I think I showed you that.
Yes.
And I did use it on one of our stories when you had your gauntlet at Disneyland. Is the facial hair bro. High five. But yeah, I mean, that's him. Comic book and movie. That's him. That's Doctor Strange.
Yeah. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch has played him to a T.
So great.
The goatee works on him. The white striped hair on the sides.
It's so cool.
Just works.
Yeah, and of course we'll get into those aesthetic things a little later. But before we get into a little more of the nitty gritty details, I already have a pop quiz for you.
I am ready to start off the new year poorly.
Let's go. Okay, this one's
poorly.
Comic book. It's a comic book question.
I already lost.
Nah, come on, I have faith in you. And so, multiple choice.
Okay.
Which of the following was not an alias of Strange's?
Okay.
Is it Sherlock? Vincent Vishanti? Stephen Sanders? Or Red Raja?
Which is not an alias?
Which is not an alias of Stephen Strange. So 3 of these are actual names he has been called in the comic books at some point. One of them is absolute BS.
I feel like Sherlock's so on the nose, man. Because, obviously it was way before the Sherlock, Red Raja.
Yeah. Stephen Sanders.
Stephen Sanders.
And Vincent Vishanti.
Bichon. Wow. Mm-hmm. Stephen Sanders, I believe. Oh, gosh. Sherlock is throwing me off for some reason. Red Raja? That's just, where do you even get that from?
Yeah. Yep.
Red Raja. Vincent Vishanti.
Vincent Vishanti.
Where would that even, how would you even come up with that as an alias? Oh my gosh. And then Sherlock. Okay, Sherlock's sketchy because it's the only one that doesn't have a last name.
Okay.
Guys, I literally hate these. I'm an overthinker, so you're literally hearing me like you're hearing how my brain functions in real time.
God, I wish I could hear people inputting like which one they think it is. Although I should put it on social afterwards just to see like before we publish to see what people think. But
you know what? I am going just on a whim. I'm gonna go Sherlock.
You're gonna go with Sherlock?
Don't say it like that. Dai, you always do this.
I didn't even mean to.
She always questions my answers like as if I'm wrong.
Hey, that's your final answer or yes? Yes or no?
I don't know anymore. Hold on. Give me like a minute.
No. Come on.
Oh my God. You know what? Actually, no. Sherlock would make sense in the times.
Yeah.
Since Sherlock was relevant at the times of comics were written. Red Raja, I don't know really where you get Vincent Vishanti, I don't really know. Steven Sanders, that kind of makes sense because it's like, oh, well, it's strange. Okay, well then, you know, it's like the whole Shang-Chi thing.
Yeah,
like you change your name from Shang-Chi to Sean. So I was like, yeah,
no wonder your dad found you.
So, okay, I'm process of deduction right here.
Okay.
So I'm either it's Red Raja or Vincent Vishanti. Where did he get Vincent from? All I can think about is Vincent D'Onofrio.
I mean,
I'm going to go Red Raja.
You're going to go Red Raja?
I'm going to go Red Raja.
Okay, final answer. Red Raja.
Yes.
Jeffrey.
Sucks.
You should have stuck to Vincent Vishanti.
Oh.
That is one I totally made up.
Damn.
First of the year, Brody. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Pain.
So that said, I wanted to pivot very quickly, or not so quickly, because we are going to talk about the Vishanti quite a bit. The Vishanti is a thing, and he's said it many times in the movies as well. And so I just kind of went, Vincent Vishanti's funny. But yeah, he has indeed been called Sherlock. He very many times, which is very funny when you think about it because of Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that's what threw me off.
Yeah,
too.
no, he's been called Sherlock a lot. Steven Sanders, surprisingly, yes, and as well as Red Raja. So, but we'll kind of get into a little bit of the hows and whys of some of those. But for the Vishanti, you know, I just kind of wanted to cover like the Vishanti themselves is a trio of supernatural, godlike entities who act as patrons for the Sorcerer Supreme. And defenders of the Earth realm. And so it kind of starts with them, and you kind of see this sort of symbolism riddled throughout the Marvel universe, both cinematic and comic book, you know?
Nice.
You know, like you think about, for instance, the TVA and how they had the trio that they were worshiping.
Oh yeah.
And how like the Eternals have the Celestials, all this kind of stuff. Everybody has this sort of source that all their power and all their knowledge and foresight comes from. And so when it comes to these mystical characters, or at least the sorcerer crew, the Vishanti are they. And of course from the Vishanti comes the Book of Vishanti. And so that's the book that Strange uses for the mystical powers and such. And so the book is used to deflect magic. The Ancient One shared the book with his pupil, Doctor Strange, in the comics. And believe it or not, there's actually a freshly published version of this book that just came out last month. And it's called Doctor Strange, the Book of Vishanti. And it's exploring the magic side of the MCU.
Oh,
I know.
The MCU?
Yes. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And I didn't see all of it, but I was looking through photos of it. And it does have like the spells, quote unquote, and like all the jargon that Steven and maybe even Wanda use are in that book. So that's kind of cool.
That's sick.
And then of course, to pivot from that brief little intro into Doctor Strangeland, of course, the film Doctor Strange came out in November 2016.
Damn.
So we were off for a year. Because I was thinking, I was like, wait, I think it's 6 years because of the 22 date for Multiverse of Madness. So yes, the original film was November 2016.
What?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Damn.
Dude.
I know. What came out in 2017 then?
2016. 2017?
Whatever.
We're going to be here all night.
I know. It's fine. But November. I think that's why, because it was so close to like 2017.
To 2017, yeah.
And you think about, now it's.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Directed by my one-time manager, or like a boss, Scott Derrickson. I worked for him for a whole month. It was great. Written by John Spates, I believe is how his last name is pronounced, who worked on Passengers and Prometheus and Dune, as well as Scott and C. Robert Cargill, who worked with Scott on Sinister. So he kind of brought in people that he worked with previously, which is great.
Yeah, shout out Scott Derrickson. I think he did he did a
great job.
Really good job on that first one. Really setting a tone for Strange.
Yeah.
And then you see like how you saw the trailer for Multiverse of Madness, and you're like, okay, it's kind of carried over from Scott's like foundation, but just throwing in that Raimi.
Yeah. That's
Raimi
the crazy
style.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm a huge horror film fan, and I love the Sinister films. The first one's really great. The second one's okay. The Conjuring, all that kind of stuff.
Same, yeah. I like Conjuring horror movies.
Oh, yeah,
I like those kind of. I like those kind of. Yeah,
I love them. And when this film came out, it really, I knew the name. Obviously, I was like, okay, Scott Derrickson, cool. But I didn't put together that those films were made by the same person.
Yeah.
That it was like this guy who did Sinister is also the man responsible for Doctor Strange. I was like, holy cannoli. And so I wonder, it's interesting that they're taking a route with horror film directors and creators like Sam Raimi and Scott Derrickson to take on the helm for this character. So it's like interesting. It's like they want to go like a dark route.
They're just giving each hero like a different kind of feel or a genre.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, it's really cool, right? And like I mentioned, music composed by, I don't favor him at all. I made a mention of musical composer just because I wanted to mention him again, but Michael Giacchino, who is responsible for many, I think.
A lot of like MCU
films, and films in general. Obviously, he's a legend. I think he did Spider-Man as well. Maybe all of the I'm not sure. No, not all of them, but he did a lot of them.
Yes, I think so, yes.
I think he did at least Tom Holland's.
Yeah.
But he's fantastic. And I think I said this to somebody this week. I was like, dude, Doctor Strange has like the best like musical composition. Fight me. Like I was like, just change my mind. Because honestly, in review,
it's like that, like, I don't know like how to describe that kind of instrument, but it's just like that.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, that makes
the Baroque.
It sells.
Baroque,
it just sells it.
Yeah, it's so good. And so I started that. So I make playlists for my characters because I'm a Pisces, and so so the Black Widow playlist I made that I shared with you, I have now changed it to like slow jams of the MCU.
Nice.
So now it has the Black Widow slow songs, and then also now Doctor Strange. And so I'm going to keep compiling it. So if you want to subscribe to it, you can. It's going to be on Spotify. But yeah, those two soundtracks, honestly, very quickly, like not to segue into music, but those are honestly two of my favorite scores for any of these MCU films.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh my gosh.
It's tough, right?
It is. Well, just like, one, like, when you have like Alan Silvestri, like, doing
Silvestri's so fantastic.
The Portal score is amazing. I do love a lot of like the Captain America score, just because his it's always been Cap's theme that always like I'm always humming to myself sometimes. Yeah. But then
and I love that they have these tones to them, like you just said. Like Strange has this Baroque, like the harpsichord, and then like with Natasha, it was a very delicate piano that was very ballerina-like, and then like with Cap, like trumpets for days and horns for days, and then you have these big sweeping suites that are for Avengers and like Guardians of the Galaxy, like Tyler Bates. He's fantastic too. And he did the 300 films and other things like that. And those like themes are so like unmistakable.
Even like the reworked Spider-Man themes. Yeah. Like, like it's just like and it's just like it's recognizable, but it's like it's MCU
remix.
It's MCU fresh.
Yeah.
And then like another thing that not to talk too much about, obviously No Way Home and everything, but if you haven't seen it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
This is news now. Like it's out there.
It'll be a month already.
I know. When all three of them, all three Spider-Men, were on screen, like their respective themes played, and I love Tobey's theme.
It's so good.
I do love Tobey's theme a lot.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's just like, even if you have like the same theme, you know, for characters, like there's always a way to rework it. So, and then like what the MCU has done with like their hero themes. Yeah. I think it's been pretty good and pretty successful.
I agree. And so this is kind of like the first time that we'll be mentioning a sequel before it's even out. But I also wanted to quickly mention Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, which is coming out May 6th, 2022 of this year, obviously. Directed by Sam Raimi, screenplay by Jade Halle Bartlett and Michael Waldron. I mean, like this, again, MCU Doctor Strange, he is very similar to the books. He finds himself in Kamar-taj, training, the home and training grounds to the Masters of the Mystical Arts. And it's a fictional place, but it's located in Kathmandu in Nepal. So, okay, I got to ask you this question because I put it on social and I know you saw it. But in the true form of Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, I need to ask you, Geoffrey. Is Doctor Strange a sorcerer or is he a wizard without a hat? Discuss.
Well, I think the funny answer is he's a wizard with no hat.
I swear to God. See, I'm like Team Bucky on this. I'm like, dude, he's a sorcerer. He's not a wizard without a hat. No, wizards aren't a thing.
Well, also the way that Anthony Mackie delivered that line, he's like, yeah, but with no hat. And I was just like, oh, God, it makes sense.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, he's a sorcerer supreme. So, well, technically, he's not the sorcerer supreme.
He's not sorcerer supreme.
But he was the sorcerer supreme.
Okay, so I will say, initially, when I put this poll up on Instagram and Twitter, everybody was like, He's a wizard without a hat. Okay. But it changed. Final hour, it changed. Okay. I'm just going to say. So without further ado, on Instagram, 25% of people who voted said he's a sorcerer, whereas 75% betrayed me and disputed that he is a wizard with a hat, without a hat. Then Twitter came out from the woodwork and was like, nah, he's a sorcerer. So I guess we're divided because I'm going to say he's a sorcerer. I just think he's a sorcerer.
I would like to assume he's a sorcerer.
Sorcerer Supreme.
It's a great pizza name.
I know. I was like, dude, there's a pizza joke just waiting to happen.
Like, come on. If there's not a pizza place actually in New York on Bleecker that doesn't have a Sorcerer Supreme. Dude. I went to Bleecker Street Pizza. Dude. They did not have a Sorcerer Supreme.
Dude, that is a missed opportunity.
I know. I was getting pizza after we were at a bar with my friends and we're like, we're going to go to pizza. I was like, what is it? It's like, it's Bleecker Street. And I was like,
yeah, you're like, where's the building?
I was like, I don't see.
Where's the big thing?
Hello? Where's the sanctum? Right. It's not here.
Where's the sanctum?
It's not here.
I forgot what the actual address for that building is, but it is a building. It's just a little different.
1771 or whatever. I don't know.
Is it on Bleecker Street? Do you know that?
Yes.
The Doctor Strange fanatics are like, yes, it is.
It is on Bleecker Street.
See, that's cool. I want to do that next time because like one of the things, because again, like I used to go to New York every year to see my friends and go to Comic-Con, and like one of the years I decided I'm going to go to all the Amazing Spider-Man locations. So I did, and I was like, this is where Gwen Stacy broke up with Peter Parker, and so I'd love to do that where like actually go, because I've never been. At least to my knowledge, I don't think I've been on
Maybe
Bleecker
there's
Street.
A lot of Bleecker Street pizzas that I don't, but I was just like...
God, there has to be one Sorcerer Supreme.
I was just like...
What if you just go up to them and go, I would like one Sorcerer Supreme. Wouldn't see what they say. I wonder what they would be. Hey, get out of here.
And I'll be like, come on.
So speaking of the Sorcerer Supreme, we're going to go ahead and segue into powers.
Oof.
And the funny thing is when I was doing my notes, in my long-winded notes, I put my items and I bold certain things that are of notation. I put magic. On the comic book side, I put obviously. And on the MCU side, I put duh. So
I would hope so.
Yeah. So of course, yes, he has magic. But like I previously mentioned, the Book of Vishanti, is also regarded as the scroll of Vishanti in the comic books. And it's known to contain the most powerful white/order magic. So this is where, okay, I'm sorry, I don't know a lick about Harry Potter. So feel free to indulge me if you know anything about.
I know just like the movies. I've watched all of the movies.
That's more than I'm not.
I've read the first 3 books and that's it.
Look at you, little nerd. I was in Twilight, so that's my excuse.
Nice.
But yeah, so the Book of Vishanti, it focuses on white and order magic. So clean magic, innocent magic, pure magic that isn't meant to be harmful, if you will.
Sure.
Protective,
yes.
sure. Which also serve as counter spells for other disciplines. Okay. So this is where we're obviously, as we can see in the trailer for Doctor Strange 2, for instance, this is going to be a thing where we're going to start seeing him use his magic against other people. I don't want to say magicians, mystical folks.
Powers, mystical beings.
Yeah,
yes.
like the first film against Caecilius. Yeah.
And Dormammu.
Yeah, exactly that. Where they're just casting these spells, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so the book itself can deflect spells. And then, like I mentioned, there's a book that actually came out that I now want to get. Whereas the Darkhold, I don't want to get into Darkhold too much because that's gonna know.
I feel like that's a deep.
It's a deep dive.
That's deep.
And whereas the Darkhold, or otherwise known as the Book of Sins, the Book of Spells, or the Book of the Damned, is an ancient book of spells and unspeakable power made of dark matter from the hell dimension.
And my baby girl read that book front to back.
She did. And
she read that book front to back.
She's still reading it now, dude.
Oh my God, and she's about to raise so much.
Right.
So much hell.
So much hell. And so I'm like, oh, wow. Because, the Doctor Strange, the film, started to introduce us to all these dimensions, right?
Yes.
And we're starting to see like mirror dimension, and then now we're hearing about the hell dimension and all these different dimensions that very well have their own protectors and gatekeepers. So it's like, oh geez. And now with the multiverse, like, oh God.
Honestly, Doctor Strange 2 is like that's the first movie for MCU this year. So
yeah.
And it's literally following Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's going to open up something. Like it's going to open up all these possibilities.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that's like a huge aspect of this character. And of course, his periphery. And so it's going to be interesting to see like what kind of spells they conjure and the things that they use against one another. Because I tell you, one of the things that is absolutely sensational about especially the MCU version of Doctor Strange is how they visualize his powers. Like I tell you, the first time they showed those sparks, I was like, dude, that is so cool.
The portals, the slingering, and just like, I think I remember seeing, I was like, this, I believe this.
Yeah,
like I believe
exactly.
this is happening. Yeah.
Like I never would have imagined like, oh, what would that look like in real life? But the way that Derrickson and his team was able to kind of bring that to life, and just like the way that, like Benedict pounds his fists against each other, and then like they spark, and then all the things come out.
The most importantly, the hand choreography.
The hand choreography is incredible.
Yeah.
Where's like the top billing for those people? Because honestly, that's it. Like what? How do you become a hand coordinator?
Those are like the dance, like like hip hop like dance moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they had. I remember seeing behind the scenes. I think it was like they had like dance choreographers that.
Yeah. Huh. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now, do you think Wanda and Doc Strange have the same hand choreographer? Do they have the same person telling them how to?
I don't think so. No, because
move their wiggly
because
woos?
with Wanda's stuff it was like very flowy and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was mostly just like positions of hands.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't think so. But maybe now it's different. But yeah.
That's it. Yeah. I'd love to know that. I should have looked that up. But aside the obvious, each sorcerer or each I don't know, what would you call them, factions, or they all have these talismans. So in the books they call them talismans. In the movies they're referring to them as relics. And so we see in the first film, for instance, Mordo introduces the different artifacts like during his training with Steven.
Yeah.
And he's like the boots of blah blah blah, and the staff that he was using, and they're all relics, right? Yeah, and they're available to those practicing sorcery. And so we're going to go into a few of these, at least the ones that are pertinent to the films. And the Hoary Hosts of Hoggoth are relics in the possession of the masters of the mystic arts. Whereas in the comics, the Hoary Host of Hoggoth,
Nice.
God, I know I was going to mess it up, dude. I always mess it up. Hoggoth, are a magical spell that harness the power of Hoggoth, the Hoary.
Okay.
God, there's so many H's. I'm
That's a lot.
not good at tongue twisters. So I'm screwed. I'm so sorry. So again, in the MCU, there are hosts of Hoggoth, and those are the relics. Whereas in the books, they're spells.
Got it.
It's a spell. And so the first of the relics that is obviously very important is the Eye of Agamotto.
Yep.
Agamotto. I don't know how to. Agamotto.
Eye of Agamotto?
Eye of Agamotto. I don't know what inflection to say it with.
Nice.
The Eye of Agamotto, and so in the books, it's created by, you guessed it, a sorcerer named Agamotto, who was a member of the Vishanti.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's commonly possessed by the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth. So it's an earthly object.
It stays on Earth.
It stays there. It doesn't go anywhere else.
Yeah.
And then in the MCU, the relic of the same name is created again by Agamotto, the first Sorcerer Supreme, and it's used as a containment device for the Time Stone.
Wow. So literally like straight from like comic to like film.
It's
Whoa.
it's very, very interesting how they've kind of, like adapted it and then kind of formulated it and formatted it for their needs in the MCU. And then of course the eye was protected by the masters of the mystic arts for generations, which I think Wong says when he's actually showing the eye to Steven. It sounds weird. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, it is kind of weird to call him Steven. Maybe I should call him Strange. This is the exact dialogue that he has with
Still
Peter.
weird, but I'll allow it.
It's still weird, but okay. So yeah, the discussion that Wong has with Strange in the Sanctum, and then so this is where we're gonna get a little deep divey, but it's very. Geoffrey's
It's time.
Just shaking his head.
It's time.
Yeah, and I'll admit I am not very well versed in Doctor Strange.
Is
not
anyone
nearly as much
really?
I know it's
There
a lot.
probably is a couple people out there.
Oh,
They're
for
probably
sure,
like, yeah, if they
right?
were to listen to be like, nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I am so sorry. But yeah, he's, and I say this with all these characters that, he's a very dense character because he has been around for so long. But so let's jump into the Vishanti. Since they use the word and mention the word so often, I figured, we should probably have some background because in the MCU, you don't know they don't reveal very much at all, right? Like they haven't mentioned the Vishanti.
Vishanti? I'll be honest. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think
know.
so. Yeah, exactly.
I would know.
Exactly. And so, the short version of the MCU is that they're a magical organization responsible for the creation of the Guardian Vishanti spell, which is what we see in What If. So he uses it in What If of all places. It's not even in the actual cinematic universe. Yeah.
I know.
And then Whereas, okay, here we go. In the comics, Vishanti, they're a trio of sorcerers. So the Vishanti were comprised of Oster, I guess is how you say her name, Agamotto, and Hoggoth. Gosh, Hoggoth. It's a literal pronunciation. Nice. Hoggoth. So Oster, or Oster, O-S-H-T-U-R. Oster. O-S-H-T-U-R. Oster.
Yeah.
Oster. So Oster was an elder god who left Earth to journey the stars. On her journeys, Oster met Hoggoth the Hoary, who was quite literally, by the way, a tiger. He's like a tiger person.
Oh,
so it's
nice.
like, you imagine, like, you think, oh, Doctor Strange and like how they look. Oh, like sorcerer look, whatever. No. This dude's a tiger. He's a tiger person. It's great. So Hoggoth, he's a tiger person, ancient and powerful magical entity of order, and known to be one of the last survivors of an ancient mystical race. So those two meet on a journey. They return to Earth, and they essentially become like protectors of the planet, if you will.
Okay.
And so one day, while observing Earth children at play, Oster sheds a single tear. And much like Diana being forged of clay from Zeus's clay or whatever, she births a child. It becomes a child.
Okay.
Named Agamotto.
Nice.
Okay. So now.
Okay.
It's a child of her own, manifestation, named him Agamotto. And then we're going to go back a little bit. So we're going to go backwards in time here. So the elder gods themselves are incredibly powerful, ethereal beings with vast cosmic powers. Okay?
Okay.
Survivors of the first wave of entities that were spawned by the Demiurge visiting Earth soon after its formation 4 billion years ago. So,
jeez.
So whereas we got really crazy with the Celestials and creating the universe, now we're being introduced by sorcerers that emerged at the beginnings of this planet's creation. Crazy, okay?
Insane.
And then the Demiurge is a sentient life force of Earth's biosphere, who seeded the Earth with fragments of its own life essence, giving birth to the elder gods.
Okay.
Which is what Hoggoth is.
Okay.
Okay, so that's so basically it's Demiurge, elder gods, Vishanti. That's the order.
Okay.
And then fast forward, we got the Sorcerer Supreme. He is not a pizza.
Sad.
So that's a quick deep dive.
That's pretty, yeah.
And so I wonder, because we've not been introduced to these characters. If not now, when?
I mean, we'll see. Yeah.
Do you think?
I mean, after watching the trailer for Doctor Strange 2, it's like, what are they?
Dude, right? Where are they going? Why is America Chavez there?
I don't know if you saw this today. There was concept art that came out.
Oh, really? No, I didn't see it.
From Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, yeah?
She was supposed to
be in it.
Be in it.
Oh, interesting. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, but obviously, well, that's the thing about trailers. Like, you don't know, it's teasing all these things, but you don't know who's the villain. You don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
And how many times has everybody been wrong about everything?
100%. Yeah, it's a Marvel trailer too. Like, we're seeing evil Doctor Strange, not a spoiler, and literally Darkhold Wanda.
Yeah.
What the hell? Like, it's probably two of the most powerful things we're gonna see maybe on screen. Two of the most powerful mystic sorcerers.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing, because it's okay, they're showing that. That's the first card that they're showing.
Yeah.
What in the world are they going to show us or not show us?
I know,
that
exactly.
they're saving for the film.
How does the multiverse come into play?
Right.
And where does Mordo come in too? Is he a villain?
Exactly. I know. Mordo's got to be. He's got to be.
Because he's against all that stuff now since the first film. So he's what was the line he said in the trailer? He was the biggest threat to the universe, Strange. Is you. And you're
oh. But
things just got out of hand, and I was like, ooh.
Oh my gosh! That version, I can't even begin like to see, to be somebody who was so like invested in What If.
Yeah.
Despite it being a quote unquote cartoon,
I know.
really be into it that deep and be like, dude, that would be so crazy to see in real life.
Yeah.
And then they're like,
we did it.
I know, like, oh God, they did it. And he looks exactly the same.
And I was like, I brought this up to Dai, and I was just like, so did the concept of that What If episode come first, or did DS2 come first?
Oh my gosh, right? Like,
and where they're like
masterful planning,
or did DS2 or maybe they did have the same idea, but they knew What If was coming out first,
right?
And then maybe like Sam Raimi was like, oh, let's see their concept, art.
Right? Like what's the timeline order
from there,
right?
And I'm like, and I think I had the same thing too. I was like, can you portray this other side of Doctor Strange, like live action?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
Because like I remember like that episode, like the one where Doctor Strange uses his heart instead of his hands. I was like, this episode is
it was so
messed up.
I cried the entire episode. It was so good.
I was rooting for a happy ending, and I didn't get it. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, no, dude.
He lost.
What If is like...
I was like, oh, this is dark.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the DS2 trailer comes out, and I was like, oh.
It's him!
Again, in live action.
Yeah.
And so now it's Benedict Cumberbatch playing an evil... And a more evil side of
evils. Yeah, exactly. And again, like, and he portrayed him in What If. So it's kind of like, whoa, dude, which one was the warm-up?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's him.
So he has that, like...
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So I was like, oh, mercy. I don't know if they're going to directly correlate, of course. Like, I don't think anybody does, but... You know what I mean? Like how they... Or not... they didn't even do that in the episode, in the What If episode. It would have to be a spell.
Yeah, or like...
Sort.
Or does regular Strange actually convince Evil Strange, like, look, man, this is not the path you want to go on, because it's going to turn into this.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and I wonder how closely, if at all, will they pay homage to the main episode of What If? Like, are they going to go down that route, or
this
like
just came to me?
No, gosh.
This just came.
That was incredible. Your eyes just like...
So you know the path Doctor Strange went through in the What If episode?
Yeah.
He was literally doing it because he wanted Christine back.
Right.
What does Wanda want?
She wants her children.
Like...
She wants a baby.
And she's willing to
use the dark hold, the book of the damned.
What if Wanda's the one that brings evil Doctor Strange because she's messing around with all this magic?
Jeff! I think you're onto something.
And then they meet, and then evil Doctor Strange is like, I can get you what you want.
Yeah.
And you're the Scarlet Witch.
Ooh, Jeff.
It's a bold prediction. It's a very bold prediction.
That's a really good one.
It's a super bold prediction.
Good. That's really good.
And Wanda will do anything at will, especially now.
Especially now.
Like, she lost her kids.
Yeah.
She lost Vision 3 times already.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah.
And now I'm like, and then now she has all this knowledge about the Darkhold and dark magic and everything, and she's like this fully developed Scarlet Witch.
Damn, that's a good theory.
And then like, what if she's the one that accidentally summons? And in the trailer, Strange goes to her. It's like, what do you know about the multiverse?
Right.
And maybe he's trying to do something. She accidentally does something, but it's dark magic.
Yeah.
She accidentally opens this other universe that brings in this evil Doctor Strange.
Oh my God.
They meet, and Doctor Strange is like, oh, you're powerful.
Yeah.
I want something.
I can use that.
I can use you.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I can also give you this if you help me with this. And Wanda's so like tunnel vision by like, I just want my kids.
But what if it's Mephisto?
I was just gonna bring it out. I was like, what if evil Doctor Strange is Mephisto? But I think that's a possible.
That's a
and then
really
now
good
regular
one.
Doctor Strange has to enlist the help of America Chavez.
Yeah.
And they're like, I need your help because these two are gonna murder this whole universe.
Yeah. That's so random.
And then on top of it, you have Mordo, so it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo, boy.
I will keep that in my head.
That's great.
That's a bold prediction.
You heard it here first. Jeffrey predicts the MCU.
It's a very bold prediction.
So good. I love it. Oh man, I'm in for that. So that's kind of what we were looking at as far as the history of sorcerers and the mystic arts go. But related, Cloak of Levitation, everyone's favorite.
That's my favorite.
Vanity Fair likened it to Aladdin's magic carpet, and I was like, "That's adorable," because it kind of is. You kind of like fall in love with a sentient being.
Like, it's an inanimate animate object.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. And so in the comics, gosh, can I even say this? Enith Harmon, the Weaver. He's okay. So we have the human tiger that is Hoggoth, right? And now we have Enith Harmon, the Weaver, who's essentially a human triceratops.
Okay.
So he's on two legs.
Okay.
He looks like a person. If you saw a picture of him, like he's like chin down. He's like cool.
Human.
He's human. But then you look at his head and his hands, and he's like, he's a triceratops. Kinda.
So weird.
It's
like
interesting.
Are human a rhino almost, or more triceratops? Okay.
I feel it's like triceratops, but I mean, because he has a tail and stuff. Yeah, he's like a triceratops. He looks like a dinosaur. It's cool, Dr. Dinosaur. And so Enith Harmon. Is an ancient master weaver. So there's this other, what is it called? I want to say I was going to say Weaverville. I know there's like another planet or dimension where like they have these, skill sets. Yeah. And so Enith Harmon is a master weaver and described that a being far greater than himself created the cloak of levitation. So that's where it came from.
Okay.
It's from another dimension. And in the books, two cloaks actually exist.
Okay.
One is blue and the other one is red.
Ooh.
And so this is kind of where the Red Raja name comes from. A little bit.
Okay.
So the blue one is apparently the lesser one, which is very interesting because, when we talk about glam ups that happened in the MCU, like, correct me if I'm wrong, there was no blue cloak anywhere, right? We've not seen one.
I did not know.
So I'm going to just say they're probably not going to show it, at least not for Strange. Maybe somebody else will get
Evil doctors.
I mean, he might. He was in the navy blue, was he not?
I don't know what the difference is between blue and red, unless you know.
Well, I have an answer for you.
Sick.
So the blue is the lesser, and it's worn during Strange's like earlier days of being a sorcerer, not apprentice, but a sorcerer's apprentice. And so it's just not as powerful. Whereas the red one, as you can see in the films, it has its own it works by its own will. It has powers to some degree and whatnot. But in the comics, the red cloak was gifted to Strange by the Ancient One. Yeah. After prevailing in a battle against Dormammu, who of course is a recurring, entity in his life. If you didn't notice, sometimes literally, if you look at the first film, but it was destroyed at least twice in two different battles, and it didn't come back, quote unquote, together until, of all people, Loki became Sorcerer Supreme.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so he recovered it. He created this twine from Asgardian magic. Okay. And made the cloak whole again. Oh. So it became a very intricately detailed, you could tell somebody put that thing back together, which I think is kind of interesting because if you look at Doctor Strange's MCU outfit, and especially the newer ones, you can see if you look at the detail of the cloak, you see stitching almost. It looks like there's patterns and there's layers of it, but it's all red. Yeah. It's all red. Yeah. But I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's kind of an Easter egg of sorts to Loki's time as the Sorcerer Supreme. But yeah, so he had spun that himself and he threaded it and he brought it back to life. And then, of course, in the MCU, it's a magical relic that is able to move and fly on its own, like a magic carpet. And, in the MCU, it appears that the relics are able to choose their master. Yes. If you will. Yeah. And that's interesting because it's kind of cute. They're like, I choose you.
I mean, that's literally the movie.
Yeah, right? Who says it? Did somebody say it? Was it Mordo?
He was like, the cloak of levitation. It's chosen you.
It's chosen you. Yeah.
And you're
so cute.
Oh, okay.
I love him. Or it.
I know.
Yeah, it moves on its own accord and all that good stuff. So how about another pop quiz, my friend?
I love failing.
Failure. No, this one I kind of believe in you. I really do.
Okay, let's get it. Let's do it.
Can you see it on there?
No,
You
I can't.
see it?
I can't.
Okay. So, here we go. As of Spider-Man No Way Home, there are 24 known relics in the MCU.
Okay.
I'm not going to make you name them all.
Okay.
Can you
Name at least 5.
No.
Okay,
Can you
okay.
name those shown in Phase 4 so far?
What? When did Phase 4 even start? Oh, it started.
Black Widow.
It was the last Spider-Man movie. That's what it was, right?
Was it Black? I thought it was Black Widow. Well, that's MCU, I guess. But Disney Plus series, no? Isn't that Phase 4?
I thought Phase 4 was Far From Home.
Was it Far From Home?
Right after. Oh no.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Oh no, it was after that because Endgame and then Far From Home came out.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so since Far From Home, can you name the relics that have been shown?
Can I have an
this phase?
example of a relic? I'm really dumb.
Look at the Cloak of
Like the
Levitation.
okay.
Yeah.
Is it
Like the stuff that's in the sanctum.
Oh, in the sanctum. Oh, in the sanctum. Okay,
Yeah.
I was thinking like from each. I was like,
Oh, no.
shit.
Like there's stuff in the sanctum that has actually like been shown in this phase, but there's only a handful. There's a
This
literal handful.
phase, damn it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something.
And you got to be
else.
like, you have to actually like notice like, oh, that's there.
from Phase 4.
Yeah.
What the?
Dude, come on.
Dude, I'm just. Oh,
Do you want a hint?
yes.
4 of them are from No Way Home.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously it takes place.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't remember it from No Way Home, but I remember it from Infinity War. But I would assume it's also in the same the Cauldron of the Cosmos.
I mean, sure. Okay, so here's the thing. Now that you've mentioned that it's Far From Home, maybe I've missed a few, but I do have 4 listed aside the Cloak of Levitation that have made an appearance.
God.
And 3 of them are from No Way Home. Because I'm talking like Black Widow on.
Dude. I knew I should have rewatched No Way Home.
Oh no, how many times have you seen it? Once?
Yeah.
Oh, sheesh.
I
Come on,
know.
bro.
And then I just be watching the leak stuff.
The leak stuff. Poo poo.
Oh no.
Yeah, this is a tough one, I'll admit.
Is the fireplace a relic?
Come on. No.
I just don't know the names.
The names are okay. Well, can you describe them?
Mother trucks, man. Oh God, guys, this is not off to a good year. We are not off to
You've
a good
been
year.
busy again. You've been busy. It's cool.
It's been a lot. It's been.
And you haven't watched these movies in nauseum like the rest of them. You know what I mean?
I've also just been ingesting Spidey.
So much Spidey. Yeah.
So much Spidey.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh no. Okay, no, I can't. Okay.
Okay, that's a tough one. It's a tough one. So far, aside the Cloak of Levitation, obviously, the Daggers of Daviroth. Do you remember this? In No Way Home, when the 2 little interns are there and they're shoveling the snow,
Yes.
and you know how like the sanctum shakes and the girl drops all the things.
See, I would have connected that to Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because Thor is playing with like these
Yes,
things.
those 2. Yeah. No. They're in Thor Ragnarok as well. Yeah.
See, I would have
same.
connected that to
Yeah.
Phase. Yeah.
The Daggers of Daviroth. And then, of course, the Eye of Agamotto.
Oh my God, I'm gonna kill myself.
No. And then
Gosh, darn it.
a new one, which is a very obvious one in No Way Home. Sorry again if you haven't seen the film. The Machina de Cadavas, which is the box.
Oh.
He says it. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, it's a relic that contains the spells, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
the Machina de Cadavas. Let me try that again. The Machina de Cadavas.
Okay.
And then, last but not least, the Ebony Blade from Eternals. So now that you've shared your theory about Doctor Strange 2, now I'm like, I was sitting there for a minute and I was like, man, when are we going to see Dane Whitman again?
Kit Harington, baby. He's coming.
He's coming. So I was like,
what if Doctor Strange is like, you know how like every time we've in these big like MCU movies, there's always been like cameos, big cameos, a lot of cameos. What if Doctor Strange 2 is just like, it's just people.
Yeah.
Like just
straight up, it's going to be
like straight up just like new characters too.
It's going to be a revolving door of cameos.
Like,
Pretty sure. Like, so that was my thought, was like, okay, wait, the Ebony Blade is a freaking relic. Is Dane Whitman going to come back
in
Doctor Strange
is Spider-Man
2?
No Way Home before Eternals? Because in Eternals, he had the blade already, right? He opens the blade up in London at his,
Yes. Jeffrey's like,
so it's like, did Doctor Strange take that mother,
No, but like, what if there is, what if there's some connection that for some reason they show him
100%.
And that's how, but will Blade be there? No, I don't. So anyway.
I was going to say, like, what if straight up Blade and Dane Whitman are like, Doctor Strange, what's up, dude?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like,
I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. And when the multiverse is wide open, you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Lordy, I can't wait. So yeah, that was the Ebony Blade is the last one.
Ebony Blade, and then what was it?
The Daggers of Davaroth,
Eye of Agamotto. So the Eye of Agamotto is still a thing.
It's just a relic. It doesn't hold anything anymore.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of a necklace.
Okay.
Maybe it's made out of metal properties of something. Blah, blah, blah,
sure.
Blah. But yeah. So yeah, those are those. Now let's go Jimmy Jam to friends and such. So this is an interesting facet of the character because this is one of my favorite lines. Correct me if I'm wrong, Geoffrey. But Doctor Strange he never mentions family in the MCU.
Negative. He does not.
Does not, right?
No,
and there's no semblance of people in his life aside Christine.
No, only Christine. That's it.
Only Christine, right?
Yeah.
So in the comics, he's got a full-fledged family.
Of course he does.
But they're all deceased.
Of course.
In true Marvel form, which is it absolutely makes sense why
needs to die.
Yeah, exactly why like Disney was like, yeah, we'll get along. So in the comics, Strange's family is comprised of Beverly Strange, who is his mother, Eugene Strange, father, Donna Strange, sister, and Victor Strange, brother.
Nice.
And all of them are deceased except for possibly Victor.
Okay.
It says presumably, apparently.
It's always the brother.
It's always the brother. So he's got a brother floating around somewhere. Maybe not. Maybe he's just dust. I don't know. And so I just think that's just so interesting. It's kind of like the MCU is just like too complicated. We're not going to do it.
Sure.
We're not even bother.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of crazy to me. And then so we're not even going to talk about them. It's fine. And of course, his friends, Wong. Big one. Big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal, right?
Yeah, of course.
And, in the comic books, he is simply stated as a seemingly simple servant on the surface who is, in fact, a martial arts master and accomplished scholar. And he tends to Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum while advancing his own magical capabilities. Is that not Wong to like?
I mean, it's literally, dude. Hey, if there is a comic book accurate movie, it's this one.
Yeah, and of course, Wong is portrayed by Benedict Wong. First seen in Doctor Strange, last seen in Spider-Man: No Way Home. You want to talk about Wong for a little bit? I mean, he's one of those characters we have absolute potential to cover, especially with the forthcoming film. But yeah, he's one of those characters that's kind of emerged in the lineage of.
He's been in a lot of movies.
Films. Yeah, dude. Shang-Chi and what are the other ones?
I mean, even in No Way Home for like a bit. And
yeah, he's kind of prominent.
He's making a lot of appearances.
Yeah. What did he say in Endgame? You expected more?
What, you wanted more?
Yeah, it's so good. And yeah, he's quite frankly that guy, like when I narrow down who we should talk about as far as friends and family are concerned, at least, especially friends.
Oh, yeah.
Like Wong is so prominent as he is in the MCU, in the comic books, to Steven's circle of people that Marvel.com has him as like one of 4 people Wong is his ride or die.
I hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, let's treat Wong great in the MCU. I want to see him keep going. And then there's the Ancient One. So the Ancient One is quite a bit different. If you want to talk about stark contrast between the films and the comics, in that right off the bat, as you may have heard me mention during this entire conversation so far, Ancient One, and I think you knew this already, was a man.
Yeah.
He was male,
Yeah.
he was very of Asian descent, not quite like distinctly so, but you can tell, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
They kind of modeled him after a very cliche looking, ancient Asian wise man, if you will.
Oh, okay.
Bald with the wispy white mustache.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, in the books, he's, of course, the mentor of Doctor Strange, and he was the predecessor as the Sorcerer Supreme. He born in Kamar-taj over 500 years ago versus the MCU, which I believe is just over 700. So that's an interesting little thing. I'm not sure if that's pertinent or important for any particular reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they pull changes like age, I'm kind of like,
Yeah.
what was 200 more years? But, maybe I look at Eternals, for instance, maybe there's something there.
Age doesn't
like,
exist, man.
Yeah, right. And then, the Ancient One was the Ancient One's colleague, Kalu. So they lived on Kamar-taj back in the day.
Okay.
and the Ancient One was just a person, right? Kalu went off to learn of the mystical arts and brought them back to Kamar-taj. So together, they figured, okay, you know what? The Ancient was like, I'm going to learn this as well. They cast a spell to protect all of the villagers and the people of Kamar-taj from illnesses, from sickness, from devastation. And so it started out real great.
Yeah.
But like all things, when it comes to power, Kalu gets corrupted. And then basically the Ancient One is got to kind of take him down. And that's, let me take back my words. The Ancient One was more or less, God, I just like completely ruined my own thing. But anyway,
It's fine.
Ancient One, I know it's tough. The Ancient One was immortal, but
Okay.
not of mystical arts like skill set as Kalu. Then when they had their squabble, the Ancient One had to take down Kalu. Kalu, is banished from this realm. And then the Ancient One is no longer immortal and becomes a natural human.
Got it.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
And even then, still ages slower than a common human. And so that's kind of interesting because that facet of the character is really touched upon in the MCU. Like that's the whole purpose of the Ancient One, who is played by Tilda Swinton. About keeping the Ancient One's immortality, right? Is like, they made a deal with the other dimension gods and such. And of course, modernized in the MCU, the Ancient One is androgynous. So it is a woman, but she just doesn't go, she's, non-binary essentially.
Yeah.
And she's Celtic.
Okay.
So, and then I think we discussed this off mic many times, but like Scott Derrickson is always like, I regret making the switch. Like he could have paid it forward for the Asian community if he had kept it as an Asian person, but more tastefully than it was in the comic books.
In the comics, yeah, for sure.
But I think they were trying to do the thing, because this was also, you have to remember, like when Tilda got cast, it was kind of one of those things where we're like, why are all the characters male? Why aren't there more females?
You can't really, you can't,
You can't. Yeah, it's tough.
Can't get mad at them.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, no, I think it was okay, and I understand the flack both ways. But I really enjoyed her portrayal.
Yeah, and she came back again to do it in Endgame.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah.
Yeah, and What If?
She did
Yeah.
voice in What If too.
Totally off topic. Have you seen Constantine?
The movie?
Yeah, with Keanu.
Oh man, I probably have at some point, but it's been a long time.
One of my ultimate guilty pleasure movies. I love Constantine. Constantine is one of my favorite DC characters, and Tilda plays the archangel in that film.
Okay.
And I remember that was kind of my first exposure to her as an actress. And I was just like taken by her because she's so unconventional looking and she's got a presence to her.
Yeah.
That's like, God, she's really, like,
I know she's
incredible.
an iconic actress too, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, she's so good. But yeah, so that's the ancient one. Unfortunately, though, they ceased to exist in the MCU, but I feel like kind of like in Endgame and What If, like we might see like revisits of her or them.
Maybe, yeah.
Depending on the multiverse aspect of it.
She is. If you think about it, she is the mentor of Strange. So
yeah.
She obviously still plays a role in Strange's life. So it's like...
And Mordo.
Right? Too.
Yeah.
Just for the different reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
So...
Exactly.
We'll see if she makes either an appearance, a flashback. I don't know.
I know. We'll see, I guess. And then, just to quickly leaf through the final three that they mentioned on Marvel. For his friends, Spider-Man, of course. Who in the MCU is portrayed by Tom Holland, Andrew Garfield, and Tobey Maguire. I've wanted to say that all day.
They're all MCU canon.
They're all MCU canon now. Okay.
I love you guys.
Oh, God, so good. Thank you. And then Namor, the Submariner, both of which we don't even need to talk about. Let's be frank. They have great relationships, and he has some relationship with Tony Stark, here and there, but whatever.
Sure, yeah.
And then Clea. So Clea is Doctor Strange's estranged spouse.
Okay.
In the comic books.
Okay.
We will talk more about her later.
All right.
In the show. And then, of course, his teams in the comic books. We've mentioned these teams a few times. Illuminati is one of them, which I really wonder if they're going to touch on them. The name is a tricky one because of the Hollywood Illuminati, but
so it's true.
Yeah, right. Like there's your okay sign. The Defenders. He was a Defender, and of course an Avenger. And then MCU, he's more or less an Avenger, and part of the mystical arts realm of people.
If anything, he's like one of the top people in the Avengers now.
You're right. He's like a senior member, if you will. Like, dang,
might be the leader.
That's kind of crazy to think about, actually. You're right.
Who's really...
Yeah.
Who knows everybody.
Oh, my gosh. And Thor and Hulk. Oh, wow. Well,
they're doing their own... They're doing space stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's where we are now. Space stuff. Oh, gosh. And so that brings us to his adversaries. So, again, in the film... we're going to just cover the people that we're mostly familiar with. And the first one is, of course, Caecilius. In the books, Caecilius was a disciple of Baron Mordo.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He often served as a field agent or deliverer of messages for Mordo. So he's kind of a lackey in the comics, which is crazy because Mads Mikkelsen, his portrayal of him is so I think he's absolutely sensational in that role.
I thought it was great.
Yeah. And just also the aesthetic of that character and how his eyes are
I think that was a great way to distinguish
so cool.
the bad guys from the good guys. It's like, okay, well, the bad guys are basically who Strange are.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we just, it's like, oh, boom, give him that that dark magic eyes. And
crazy. Could you imagine that on Wanda?
Well, if you watch the trailers, Wanda has the black fingers.
Yeah, she's got the dark power fingers. So. The wiggly woos. And so to speak of the MCU version, that storyline is very interesting and essentially it's very, apparent from the get-go when you first meet Caecilius is like he became disillusioned with the Ancient One and how, that he felt that his mentor, who is the Ancient One, wasn't allowing other dimensions to, come to Earth. And I always miss the point of, they don't emphasize it as much as, at least I don't think so, that the whole reasoning behind his purpose behind trying to get that magic, to get that mystical realm, those mystical realms to Earth.
It's a dark magic, right?
Right. It's because he wanted to be reunited with his wife and son.
I think it was that or it was an endless life.
Oh,
it was
interesting.
endless life.
Yeah.
But
I felt like that was.
but when you get that, you're
Yeah.
a slave to Dormammu. kind of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah.
Yeah, and so it's interesting that they kind of, when I was looking at my notes, I was like, oh, interesting, because I felt like if that's in fact an aspect of the reasoning behind this character going dark, they kind of buried that one, kind of buried it underneath the eternal life aspect.
Yeah.
That was like, absolutely, and that was his focus. But
Yeah.
okay, I guess it makes sense that way, and it reminds me of like the Kingpin in Into the Spider-Verse and how his whole thing was with the Collider. He's like, I want to bring back my wife and son.
It's always family.
Yeah, it's
Just
always
like, I want
family.
to bring them back.
Yeah,
you need to learn how
Sandman.
to live with them. No,
Yeah.
man. You're like, well, you need to learn how to live life without them. No.
Exactly. I cannot blame them one bit. And so speaking of Mordo, he is Baron Mordo in the comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's studied alongside Strange and under the Ancient One. And he just, as time, it's very similar to the Ancient, the Ancient One in Kalu, in that as time passed, he just discovered like he wanted power more than anything.
Of course.
And selfishly gaining it
What
for
bad
himself.
guy doesn't want power?
Exactly.
Jesus
He's like,
Christ, guys, come
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Step it up.
That's how it is. And then in the MCU, of course, he's Carl Mordo with a K, portrayed by Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
I can do that. I can't say Hoggoth, who is also, again, fantastic. And it was interesting to watch his progression through the film.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was kind of like a pure boy that was like, he's like,
yes, I believe in this.
yeah, he's like the epitome of what a sorcerer should be, if you will.
Yeah.
And then by the end, you're just like, oh.
He's just like, he has a very organic like growth, like his way of thinking, the way it shifts at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I thought I knew the Ancient One.
Yeah.
Turns out I really don't anymore.
And I feel like it's very similar to what you just don't see from Caecilius. It's like, that's the same journey he took.
Yeah.
They didn't do the exposition until the end.
Because Mordo had he put the Ancient One on such a high pedestal that like, she's doing things the right. She's using these powers, these mystic powers for good.
Mm-hmm.
She's pulling this power from a good place.
Yeah.
Where at the end you find out that like, how do you think she's been able to be alive this long?
Exactly.
She's been pulling dark magic. And then that just kind of like, it's like pulling the drape over, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, he's like, oh,
yeah,
this is bad.
That's
and
crazy.
then like, I need to go to every sorcerer that ever come through and they don't deserve it. And boom, and you're like, oh my God.
Nuts. Because I almost forgot about that stinger at the end. I was like, oh yeah, Benjamin Brad.
Yeah.
Is that his name? What's his name?
I forget.
Benjamin. I can't remember
But
his last name.
I know. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. And that's the last time. Cause once the Ancient One's like dark signature on their forehead like comes to light.
Yeah.
That's the last time you see Mordo. He pieces out. He's like, bye. Like what the heck? And then he comes back at the very, 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 very end.
Taking powers away.
And you're like, oh my God, now he's a purifier. And he's like, no, you don't deserve this power.
It's like,
it's
good and bad intentions. It looks horrible.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
his way of thinking, it's like,
yeah,
no, this makes the most sense. This is coming from a bad place.
Yeah.
No.
That's going to be. And see, I wonder how that then ties into evil Doctor Strange. And so it's kind of every time we see one of these trailers, I wonder how, every time I see these trailers, I think of how I felt when, with the first viewing of, say, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah.
Because the trailers were they were like, Aisha, the sovereign, they're going to be the big deal. They're going to be the big deal.
Sure, yeah.
And then they're like, plot twist, here's Ego, right?
I mean, they revealed I was like, oh, that's his dad.
Yeah,
sick.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I always tend to think like, okay, with a film of this scope, are they feeding us Scarlet Witch, but really it's going to be Mordo and whoever else on the other side to cut, or are they going to flip flop it, tie up the Mordo thing real quick, and then the rest is all
like, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like,
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like we know Scarlet Witch is going to play a prominent role, whether that's a good role or a bad role. Like if she's against Doctor Strange or, you know, we don't know, but like she deserves her own movie.
I mean, it could lead to
she
that.
got her show. It can't, but now that she's this.
Oh yeah. And they're going to have season 2, no?
I hope so.
Did they not announce that? I thought they did.
I don't know. I don't remember seeing that.
I do remember them saying season finale when it first came out. First it was like series finale, and then they changed it to season, and I was like,
okay.
But yeah, I think there's more Wanda for sure. Yeah. And then of course jump into Dormammu, who is quite different in the comic books, at least visually. Well, maybe before.
Is he like a full-on being?
Well, yeah, he's kind of like he's a normal sized being.
Oh, okay.
So to see him in the MCU for the first time, and he's this gigantic, like floating thing of energy and plasma coloration, I was kind of like, that's different, because, you know, just like expected him to be like the same size as Steven, if you will.
Sure. Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, he's a magical entity from the dark dimension.
Dark dimension, yes. Pulling powers from the dark dimension.
Right. Lust for power and rulership over Earth. Everybody wants Earth. Earth is magical for some reason.
It's just so hilarious. Yeah. People always complain like, how come bad guys always just want to mess with Earth, man? And
exactly.
like, you know, and it's just like, dude, like, just who cares?
Everybody wants
plot.
Earth.
It's fine.
Yep, exactly. And so he's essentially one of Strange's recurring villains when it comes to the books, and because he's so focused on Earth, and he is a sorcerer of Earth.
Yeah.
So
he's
it's
a protector of the Earth's reality.
Exactly. And then in the MCU, he's introduced as a primordial interdimensional entity who wields apocalyptic levels of supernatural power.
Almost like Galactus type stuff.
Very Galactus, you know? I mean, beside the fact that Galactus is like, it's like an actual space being, if you will.
Yeah, we're at,
and then you have the mystical people and then the cosmic people over here. And Dormammu is the ruler of the dark dimension, more pinpointedly. And of course, like we see in the movie, he deceived Caecilius into using his power to destroy the masters of the mystic arts, and then
destroy the sanctorums.
Yeah.
So that
so he can
Dormammu
take
can
Earth.
just
Dormammu. Well, I have to ask, what was your first feeling when you saw that finale?
Oh, of the
I've come to bargain.
It was shocking because it was just like, you know, when you have these showdowns, it's like something big's about to happen,
right?
And then Strange just dies, and then you're like,
wait,
is he what? And then he rewinds, and then you're like, oh shoot, he has him in a loop, and it's just like, that was sick. But well, my favorite part was like the whole time rewind of that fight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like when they got there too late, like, and then all the damage is done to the city, and then he just rewinds it. And I was just like, that's sick.
So crazy. And you see the power of that character and the stone, of course.
But it was a great, like, it was a great visualization of like, like this stone is really powerful and Strange is really like powerful.
Yeah.
So, but then the whole Dormammu interaction, I was just like, this is funny. What made it funnier was that it was Benedict voicing Dormammu.
Oh, was it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's
Benedict
so
voiced the Dormammu.
I loved
and
it.
So,
oh my God, that's funny.
I thought it was just like funny, and like there was all these like different creative ways that Strange is getting killed, and then you just see like Strange break Dormammu down. Like no.
I'll admit, when I first saw it, it pissed me off.
Really?
I was like, come on. Because I was like, okay, I've come to bargain. And then he's like,
and then he dies.
I've come to bargain. I've come to bargain. I was like, dude, how many times are you doing this? But I mean, I got it. Like, I appreciated it far more the second time. You know me. I watched it 3 or 4 times in theaters.
Sure.
And I went to the special 15-minute preview where I got a special poster. Oh, yeah.
Of course you did.
I was sick that day, too. And I was like, I have to go see it. It's only 15 minutes, but it's fine. I was almost annoyed at first, and I think I was there with a friend. And I think I turned to them like after the film. I was like, I can't believe that's how he won. But in the grander scope of it, I was like, I get it.
Makes
And then
sense.
now I absolutely love it. That's truly one of my favorite movies.
I think it's one of the one of the funniest.
It's so funny because it's like you don't expect it.
Yeah,
you don't expect
people
it
are,
necessarily.
people are just like, oh, he's about to use it. Like people are probably expecting
showdown.
like
I was with that person.
people are probably expecting like what they saw
Yeah.
him against Thanos in Infinity War. You know,
Right.
People want that.
Exactly. And I'm glad they held it because to see him come out with like the frickin' 10 arms and stuff and using all the mystical power, I was man, I'm glad they saved that because that's.
And then, well, it's also just in Doctor Strange 1, it's basically you see Steven's mind put to work. Like
Exactly.
he's like, I probably can't beat a whole galactic Earth being,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm like, you know what, let me just outsmart him. And he's like, yep, time loop.
Yeah. And it's what I like, and we've said this in other episodes about like how Marvel tends to just you know their powers, you're embracing the fact that they're superhuman in some aspects, but then they never forget the humanity of the character.
Sure, of course.
That's a prime example of how Doctor Strange is doing the time loop and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But also just the logical, intuitive mind of Stephen Strange thinking, you know what? I can't beat this guy. This is how I'm going to do it. And this is what I'm going to use to do it.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, like what was the thing you have it actually written here as one of the quote options?
Oh, did I? Yeah.
Or it's just like, he was like, but you will suffer. Mm-hmm. He was like, yeah, pain's an old friend.
Yeah.
He's like, I have nothing else to lose.
Yeah.
He's like, I can lose.
Yeah.
I can lose.
Yeah.
Which makes you my prisoner. He's like, no, stop this instant. No.
Wow, dude.
Leave Earth, and I will free you. I was like, yeah, smart guy. Smart guy.
God. When was the last time you saw the film? Because I just saw it and I can't even say that.
Like full on through? Probably like either is like at some point this year or during the
Incredible.
I'm sorry, at some point I keep thinking we're in 2021. At some point during 2021 or during the pandemic, because there was a point where I was just like, let
me just binge them all. That's incredible. Oh my God, so good.
I just skipped through like not the beginnings, but like the parts of like I hate watching fights on screen, so I don't watch like the Doctor Strange where him and Christine are fighting. Oh,
you don't like squabbles? Yeah, squabbles are sad.
Because it's like I'm like, oh no, my heart.
But know, I mean, actually, I'll mention it a little later. But no, I get it. Oh, you're such a romantic. So some other notables, and I'm just mentioning these other characters because again, we have another movie coming up. We don't know who's going to pop in. And so maybe these names might sound familiar by the time May rolls around. But some other notable adversaries for Doctor Strange, in the comic books at least, have been the sorcerer Yandroth, Demon's Nightmare, and Shumagorath.
Who made an appearance?
Who is in the trailer?
We'll see how that thing comes into play.
I can't wait. Shumagorath is, of course.
I heard Nightmare too was rumored to be in there.
Oh, that'd be crazy. But the Shumagorath is, if you played Marvel vs. Capcom or the X-Men games, or the Marvel games rather, fighting games, Shumagorath was the squid green thing with all the eyeballs and stuff. Who, yes, of course, is in the trailer, and he looks a lot larger than I expected. Oh yeah, but I
was like, oh wow,
I'm sure there's that thing? Yeah, I'm sure there's a.
It gave me big Suicide Squad vibes.
Like Starro. So good. Dr. Doom, of course, and then Umar the Unrelenting. And so very quickly about Umar the Unrelenting. Umar is a Faltine. See, we're going to dive a little bit into Sorcererville.
Okay.
Umar is a Faltine, which is a higher dimensional energy being trapped in a human form. So now we're being introduced to sorcerers or mystical folks who, at their root, have no human form, but they have been consolidated into a form, trapped.
Oh, okay.
Despite their power being beyond that. Umar is also the sister of Dormammu.
Jeez.
and the mother of Clea.
Wow.
Who, as I previously mentioned, is the estranged wife of Doctor Strange in the comic books. So,
ew.
Moving forward, we still have a little more to cover on a few of these characters that we have previously mentioned. So, love interests. And something like I mentioned before, Strange and Stark have some attributes that are very similar. Mm-hmm. Their playboyisms are kind of course, part of that, as well as their arrogance.
Yeah.
And so I thought CBR, which is comicbookresources.com, summarized it very well. So I'm just going to read this verbatim. In a later issue of Doctor Strange, Sorcerer Supreme by Roy Thomas, that era of Strange's life is shown in greater detail, where we see that Strange would pick up nurses he used to work with who were impressed by the successful doctor and then dump them when they got to see the real him. And I was like, you know what? That's him.
That's literally, yeah. Oh no,
he's a jerk. And so not to get too deep into his love interest, because there were very many, but a few of them worth noting. Alice Blue Gown. It's not a long story, not a short story, but she's basically a woman named Alice who was always in a blue gown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
A long time ago. Dead Girl, who is also known as Moonbeam. Kimberly, sometimes with an E, sometimes without. She was a rich socialite. Molly, who was a one-night stand. This was, very quickly, Molly was from, I believe, a storyline that Matt Fraction, who is the author of Hawkeye, the Hawkeye run. Molly was a grad student that was working with Steven. And they had a one-night stand.
Okay.
And it is a very awkward storyline that people wish to forget.
Wow.
It's just a little problematic, if you will. Marjorie Brink, who was an immortal person, and Madeline Ravel. She was probably one of his more serious relationships. He actually proposed to her, but basically his greed and pompousness drove her away.
Of course.
She was like, sure. Red flag, I'm good. Which brings us to Clea. So I've mentioned Clea now 3 times.
Yep.
And so this is the interesting one, because she's the most prominent love interest he has.
In the comics.
Okay. So short form version, because I feel like we might have potential to cover her in the future. Who knows? We'll see. But, and this is also the character that people were like, oh, wouldn't it be great if Amelia Clark was cast as her for a bit? And, I don't think she's on the roster. I looked again at IMDb. She is not listed. So if she's in the next movie, she is being kept a secret.
Secret hard.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's only been confirmed for Secret Invasion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Clea, essentially she observed when Strange, I don't know if it was the first time, but when one of the many occurrences of Strange fighting Dormammu, she was actually observing from afar. Mm-hmm. Because again, she's the daughter of Umar, who is the sister of Dormammu.
Yes.
So it's a family affair.
Good lordy.
I know.
Come on, Strange.
However, Clea decided to betray Dormammu in favor of helping Steven. Okay. So she helped him defeat Dormammu in that battle. Dormammu, as a result, nearly killed the both of them.
Of course.
But, by mystical arts, of course, Steven actually inhabited her body and they combined forces to defeat Dormammu. So they tight. They're like,
love that.
Yeah, right?
Love that.
Okay. So, they're off and on. They're estranged. They are married. She's Clea Strange in the books. And so there's speculation that she is perhaps in the next movie or she's coming to the MCU in some capacity. But there's also, I don't know, maybe you've seen this. There was talk that maybe Dr. Christine Palmer might end up being Clea.
Interesting.
Maybe a multiverse? I don't know. I have no idea.
Interesting.
Right?
She's not getting married to Strange in the trailer. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh yeah. It took me the second watch to realize, oh wait, he's in the pews.
Yeah.
He's not at the end of the aisle.
He's not at the
I was like, oh, poor Strange.
So.
But yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Exactly.
You never know.
So Clea again.
This is only the second movie.
Exactly.
If they're going, if they're aiming for a trilogy of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Like who knows, right?
Yeah.
And multiverse again. And so speaking of Christine, she is quite literally his only love interest in the films so far.
Yeah.
And portrayed by Rachel McAdams, who's
Love
incredible
her.
too. She's so diverse and so good. Like Mean Girls
great.
is one of the best films ever.
She's great. She's great in The Notebook.
Oh my
Mean Girl.
gosh.
She has range.
She's got a ton of range. And another underrated like actress, I feel.
Yeah.
And she's fantastic. I love her, especially as Christine. And so to double back on the fighting scene for them, right? What stood out to me about Christine, and I don't know, I mean, I almost feel like it wasn't as prominently shown, at least for women to react as such in the MCU until Christine. But that moment where she's like, you do not get to talk to me that way. I was like, girl, that's right. You tell him.
Like
I was like,
she's like, I'm not the one that's wrong here, Steven.
Oh my gosh.
Like, and that's when Steven had his breakthrough. He was like,
yes.
oh, damn. Okay.
I was like, yes. And then she dropped the keys and she just peaced out. I was I like that energy. I like it a lot.
I saw something, I don't know if it was Twitter or something. So that scene where Steven goes back to New York to the hospital. Yeah. And he enters through like the janitor's closet and he's like, Christine, where's Christine?
She's like, you gotta be kidding me.
And then she's like, she literally has to process like, what are you wearing? What are you doing? Yeah. Like, are you gonna die? I don't think I'm gonna die. And then his astral like persona comes out. She's like, what is going on?
So
like,
good.
why are you here? And she's like, no time to explain. And he's like, okay, I gotta go. And it's like,
oh man,
what just happened?
She's like, what is happening? And she's still able to do it. She's still able to pull it off and do all the things. Yeah. So I was just like, I love her. And so she doesn't. I'm sorry, I didn't double, triple check. I don't believe she exists in the comics. At least not in that form, because they're apparently in the Doctor Strange Sorcerer Supreme animated film. They have a character named Gina Atwater, who is essentially the equivalent of Christine Palmer.
Okay, so she's a new character then in the MCU, created for
So that's why I'm like, it's interesting, and think of her as Clea. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. I think that they'll introduce Clea. Just when? I'm not sure.
We'll see.
And so that brings us to aesthetic. Oh, so much to talk about aesthetic. But I do want to say, shout out to costume designer Alexander Byrne. Nice. Because, my God, I was thinking about that question that we got during one of our first mini marvels about favorite costume. And I was like, nah. I changed my answer. It's Doctor Strange. It's Doctor Strange. Because, dude, that costume is out of bounds. So good. And it
works.
And it works.
Like the like it's super grounded. It's not like out of this world kind of thing. But it's so good and it's realistic. It's realistic in a sense, and he looks very similar to the comics. Very quickly for Alexander Byrne. So she is usually known for her period dramas, but she's done many film in the MCU. She worked on Thor. The first Thor, Avengers, nice, Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1, Age of Ultron, and finally Doctor Strange. So she hasn't been back since. At least I don't know that if she did the Disney Plus films, shows. But so I was like, that's kind of cool. That's all I know about her. But so for aesthetic, he has a couple glow ups in the Doctor Strange film. Yeah, we see him go from the Doctor to Mr. Doctor to apprentice with the Kamar-taj garb. Yeah. And then the colored garb. His hair is not even,
And of course the mandatory, obligatory shirtless scene.
Oh, of course.
Where he gets cleaned up. But then of course the interesting changes from when he is officially Sorcerer Supreme to that stinger that's also in Thor, Ragnarok, where he has the gloves.
He has the gloves. He has
I think the first and only time we see the gloves, right?
That was like the only time that was like his truest Doctor Strange form.
Yeah, because let's see in these trading cards here. They're orange, orangey yellow. Yeah, he's got them now too. And you can't really tell in this one. Yeah, but he's got him in 2 of the 5 cards.
But yeah, he has the gloves.
Yeah, the gloves. I love that because it was just like enough to satiate. And then you're like, it's cool. But did you notice in No Way Home, did he have the scars? Because I feel like I did not see the scars. This is me being a super nerd right now, but
I didn't actively look for them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I just feel like in Doctor Strange, they're so prominent.
Well, yeah, it's a part of like, it's a part of like his character and story, you know, like.
Yeah.
So, am I mad if it wasn't in No Way Home? I probably wouldn't even care less.
Honestly, because I feel it by that point, especially even in Infinity War and Endgame, that by then he's like, oh, I could just use a spell and make them go away.
I think even if you can't see the scars, he still made it noticeable in Endgame because his hands were shaking when he was putting up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if you see, like, even if you don't see it, like cosmetically, right?
You know it's there.
It's like he's making it known that, like, look, I know, like, it's like Wanda losing her accent kind of thing throughout movies, right? It's like, look, like, you're not going to see the scars maybe just because, like, maybe it's like it's a waste of time, like makeup wise, unless it's a close up of his hands. Yeah. So he's just like, I'm going to make it known though by just, having, I don't have a steady hand.
Interesting.
So, because in the first movie, that's basically like, that's like the conflict of the whole movie where it's just like, I'm a neurosurgeon and I'm so good with my hands. And yet now I lose the power of my hands. So how do I gain control of my hands?
You know what's interesting is that until this very second, I didn't even think of it as him still being jittery. I just thought it was in the moment of like, no, this is our one chance. But you're right. It's him. It's
like he'll never be able to have steady hands like he did.
Stability. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild.
So I think that's just a tribute to Benedict for keeping that character trait about him.
Right.
And being like, look, my hands are still shaky, but I can cast all these spells. Kind of thing. So cool. So I'm not mad if someone's like, oh my God, like I can't believe they ruined Doctor Strange. You can't even see his scars from his crash and surgery. And
I don't know how I got these scars.
You want to know how I got these scars? Well, my dad used to tell me.
Oh man, he's so good.
I'm not like mad at it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
As long as he keeps that like kind of like trait of like he'll never have steady hands. Yeah. So because that's technically like the core of his character.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So
did you notice in the trailer? Because you know me, I've only seen it the 3 times that I saw No Way Home and once online. But did you notice any differences in his costume and his aesthetic, aside from the fact that there's an evil Doctor Strange now from the previous films?
Oh.
Does it look the same to you?
In a general sense, I probably have to rewatch it and like actually rewatch it.
Really look at it, yeah.
Does it?
Yeah.
I mean, my favorite was just when he was wearing like the cloak of levitation with like just like a puffer jacket.
Yeah, that's right.
Like that's like I was just like
for Fox's sake.
I was like, this is great. This is great.
The sweatpants Strange.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I'll rewatch it then later to be like, maybe.
I didn't notice anything in particular, but I was not trying to note. I was trying to not notice anything.
Well, and then when the thing about like Strange, it's like he's not like Cap or Iron Man where you can upgrade, his things, like, unless you get an upgraded sling ring, but then again, it doesn't really.
Or relics.
It doesn't matter.
Other relics,
but it doesn't really matter because at the end of the day, he doesn't need anything to harness his powers. And
which, for the record, again, there's 24 in the MCU already, and there's tons more to come. So who knows what else he'll get as far as utilities go, if you will.
I mean, as long as he has a cloak of levitation and he can summon spells and everything, I think he's good. I think he's good.
So, question for you: have you seen the 1978 Doctor Strange TV movie?
No, I have not. I have not. I can no.
So when I was in the midst of watching Derrickson's Strange, I was like, wait a minute. I should watch the old one because I've never seen it.
That's
but you can't find it anywhere. You gotta really dig for it.
Deep.
Yeah, YouTube's like, nah, Like click in the description. I'm like, man, I don't know if I trust it. But there is a 1978 Doctor Strange movie that was made for TV, directed by Philip de Guer.
Okay.
Starring Peter Hooton as Doctor Strange.
Okay.
And they did the less formal Doctor as in Dr. Strange rather than Doctor Strange.
Okay.
Yeah. And what strikes me as very interesting about this film and what I read in the synopsis and whatnot, because I actually stumbled upon the more information about it because I was digging deeper for Clea. Okay. And so in this film, it involves a few choice characters that are very familiar in the Doctor Strange lore in general, which includes Morgan Le Fay. So, are you familiar with Morgan Le Fay?
Not off the top.
So there was that show. Oh shoot, what was it called? But there was that nightmare show that was on Hulu for a hot second.
Oh, okay.
That had, I think, Blackheart or whatever.
Maybe. It sounds vaguely familiar, but okay.
Morgan Le Fay was in it, and she was portrayed by that girl from that woman from the Austin Powers films.
Elizabeth Hurley?
Elizabeth Hurley played her. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Morgan Le Fay.
Okay.
So let me look at this really quick. She was on the show on Runaways. Sorry, it was Runaways. Yeah.
Nice.
Not the other one. So she was on that show. She was great from what I remember. Yes, quite seductive sorceress, essentially. And so anyway, Morgan Le Fay is in this film, the 1978 version, along with Wong and the Ancient One. Mm-hmm. And I believe the Ancient One's only voiced. It's not an actual person. And then they have a character named Clea Lake, who is kind of meant to represent Clea? But not really, because she gets possessed by Morgan Le Fay or a demon that Morgan sends down. But it's so interesting because if you see the poster, oh my gosh, Jeff, I need to show you the poster. Oh my God, it's so funny. Because you think of how we know him in the MCU.
Wow,
dude, he borrowed some stuff from Mr. T. he's got chains for days, and he has like a very, I don't even know what to call it, but he's got the gauntlets. I forgot what they're called. They're also relics.
That's crazy.
But isn't that funny?
That's funny.
It looks like just looking at it first off, I would have never thought. I'm so
ingrained with the MCU, so like that's just like miles, kilometers away.
If you didn't see the title, what would you think that was?
Indiana Jones film.
Really? I wouldn't even think Indiana Jones. I was like,
I don't know. Well, but it's like a
so
perfect
70s.
Encapsulation of like making a movie in the 70s. You know, like
exactly. You can hear like the wow.
Yeah, like, you can hear these like guitars for like no reason. Like it's like all these like random zoom ins.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like whoosh.
Right. Exactly. Because I watched a bit of the Captain America, the Avengers and the Captain America like stuff from the 70s too, trying to find this. And I was like, oh my gosh.
It's just like, it's cheesy.
It's so cheesy.
The lines are cheesy.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I have to, because he's coming.
I love that that's your 70s voice. Oh, so good. Do the Batusi. So all of that said, that's the end of the strange stuff. I want to end that with a pop quiz.
Guys. She hates me.
Nah, I love you with pop quizness. So this is I don't know. You might know this. I honestly feel like I ask these questions because I'm curious if you know.
I have no faith in myself at this point, but let's try it.
Let's see how well you know Doctor Strange, the film.
Oh, God, I hope it's pretty well.
Here we go.
All right.
This is all the little things, my friend.
Okay.
What book is Stan Lee reading in his film cameo?
Oh, God. Oh my God! I know exactly what scene it is too.
I know you would.
Gosh. Okay. This is interesting. Okay. This is when they're fighting in the mirror dimension and stuff. Mm-hmm. Both Mordo and the Strange Fall.
Yep.
Wait, what book was he reading?
What book was Stan reading?
God.
So he's on the bus.
I almost had it confused. With this Captain Marvel cameo because he was reading. He was reading the Kevin Smith script.
Yeah.
Oh God.
For Clerks, right?
Clerks.
Clerks,
It's Clerks 2. Can't.
Yeah, no.
Oh no! What book was he reading? You know what? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I don't know.
But it does have relevance. So, Stan was reading a book called The Doors of Perception, which is an autobiographical book written by an author named Aldous Huxley.
Okay.
Published in 1954. And of course, the name itself is very strange, right? Doors of Perception. It's like, interesting. But the book, aside from the film, is funny just because it elaborates on Huxley's psychedelic experience under the influence of mescaline.
Sure.
In May 1953.
Okay.
Very strange.
I don't even know what that is.
Strange. Yeah. No,
I know.
Neither do I. So there we go. But it's funny. I'm curious to kind of dive deeper into that stuff, but whatever. So let's see. Our fun section almost was.
Oof.
This one's pretty neat, I will say. This one's neat. So how much do you know about who was or who wasn't or who
not much
auditioned?
at the time? Not much.
Yeah,
so.
Same here. I thought I knew a little. I knew a little bit. But first and foremost, Benny was number one. He was number one choice since they thought, you know what, we're going to bring him to the MCU.
Makes sense.
Turned it down.
The first time.
Turned it down the first time.
Wow.
He was like, no, thank you.
Who else turned? Chris Evans turned down Captain America at first too. Yeah,
exactly. And so my leg's gonna cramp. Other folks who made the short list and auditioned for the role include, but it is not limited to, Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker, who was pretty much who they wanted if they couldn't get Benny.
Yeah.
They were like, we want Joaquin Phoenix.
They basically kind of like, yeah.
And the funny thing is, he was like, I don't want to be locked into contracts.
Yeah.
So
that's a very Joaquin.
it's a very
Joaquin
which is funny because now he's doing another Joker. But I digress. He turned down Doctor Strange after turning down Bruce Banner, the Hulk, for Avengers.
Interesting.
Right? I was like, So when they were in the recasting of God, why am I forgetting his name? Because he's one of my favorite actors, Edward Norton.
Yeah.
They went to Joaquin and he was like, well, I don't want to do more than one film. So he didn't do it. Right?
I mean, yeah, because let's think of the time. Signing on a contract at the time.
Because now they don't do this anymore.
Especially for MCU.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oof, I don't know if I want to be locked in
10
for
years.
5-6 movies or whatever it is.
Yep.
It's and I think Chris Evans has talked about this story a lot. He was like, that's very hard to do. You're like, I don't know, am I even gonna love playing this character kind of thing? And
that's
mentally,
true,
and it's like, yeah, I get it at the time, but it's like it's at the time it's definitely a risk. You're like, okay, well, the MCU is kind of semi-established. It's like let's say it's 2015.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been like 7 years since the first Iron Man, and they're gaining some traction.
Crazy. Yeah.
But I mean, I don't blame Benedict. Don't blame Joaquin. And signing, even though it's a lot of money, it's a lot of your time because you're spending. I think these big budget movies spend maybe like definitely a lot of months.
Yeah,
more than 2 months of shooting, maybe 3.
That's crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, because Guardians 3, for instance, I think Chris Pratt or Gunn had even mentioned they're going to start shooting in December and they'll be done in March. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then So Infinity War Endgame 2, I think they shot. It was like 6 months in total.
That's insane. Yeah. So, right.
3
and back to back.
Yeah.
Woo.
So.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot of time. That's almost a quarter of the whole year that you're spent on a set
on one film. One character. That's a lot. And that's a lot of headspace too.
Yeah.
And of course, Jake Gyllenhaal, who moved on. Yeah. Wow. Right. Who moved on to be Mysterio in Far From Home. Tom Hardy.
Wow.
Who moved on to be Venom.
That's super interesting.
funny, right?
Super interesting.
This one seems like a no-brainer, but also like a what?
Yeah.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Wow.
Yo, wizard, Harry.
Honestly, I think he was just thrown
You're
in
a
there
wizard without a hat, Harry.
just because of his magic background.
Right.
That's it.
Like, is that why?
Yeah, it has to be.
That's two on the nose for me.
100%.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Sure.
Interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, interesting.
I like him better
right?
as Nightwing. Sure.
Me too. I like him as Dick Grayson. He's good as Dick Grayson. And of course, Jared Leto.
Oh, that's right. Yes. I remember you and me talked about this.
I remember reading this article when it popped up and I was working and I was like, wait a minute.
Did you know anything about it?
I don't recall. I really don't recall knowing that he had gone in and done it.
Were you ever approached? Like from
yes.
it for examples?
Stuff. Yeah. How cool is Doctor Strange? Is Doctor Strange a good character? And I'm like, hey, yeah, he's cool. He's cool, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And
his name is Strange.
It's Doctor Strange, right? But I remember seeing the article and like Boss Logic or somebody had photoshopped him in the role. And I was like, dude. And I immediately was like, I'm sorry. Did you do this? Did you audition? Yeah. He was top. He was one of the top choices, I believe.
How did he look in the Boss Logic?
It was
artwork?
interesting. I mean, they used a picture from like, I want to say 2009. So the short, like This Is War hair.
Okay.
It was interesting. I was like, he's, again, like for many things, like Jared's just too pretty. He's a good looking man.
Oh, the Mars fans are gonna love this. Mars fans are gonna love this part of the podcast.
But like, you know, like he's got an aesthetic to him.
Sure.
That, you know, and we've said this about other characters and other actors when they're playing certain roles. Like you just, not that Doctor Strange is not supposed to be a handsome or beautiful man. It's just that he has a certain gruff to him, a certain like look to him where he's just, you know what I mean? Yes, I don't know how totally. To articulate
it's hard
it.
to put a nose on it.
Right.
But you're like,
whereas Jared is fantastic as Morbius. That's like, that's the role
I'm
for that
so
man.
Excited for that movie. After seeing honestly. The clip that was released and the trailer, I was like, you know what? I hope this does well.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
I hope Sony can create their Sonyverse that they want to. And I hope they do it in like a nice organic way.
Yeah.
That's
I
not
agree.
forced upon.
Exactly.
So how did Benedict come back to
They came right around. They asked him again when Joaquin didn't pan out. I think they just went back to him and were like, look, like maybe it was a contractual thing. And they were just like, okay, look,
I think
won't.
at the time so I know this about Benedict around 2015.
Yeah.
He was in London doing Hamlet live on stage.
Yeah.
I know that.
East End.
Yeah,
West
I
End.
knew he was doing that. So maybe that was probably why he was just like, look, I'm doing because when you're doing Broadway, you're doing how many shows a week?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at least
matinees,
at least
and
4,
evenings,
at least 4, and then you have your weekend shows. You know, and so like that takes a lot, and you do the same character like full on out every night for a big group of people.
Yeah.
So maybe at the time he was doing his thing there. He's just like, look, I don't want to, you know, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But
I could see that.
But I could also see them coming back the second time around and Feige and being like, and maybe Scott too.
Maybe Scott too. Yeah.
Or like look, like this is him.
Yeah.
This is you. You guys are the same people, you know, like this has to be you. And it worked out.
It worked out. I know. I'd love to know more.
I think he's a perfect Doctor Strange.
Oh, he's so fantastic. He makes me like Doctor Strange in a way that I didn't expect. And of course, others that were on the list that were perhaps not as top of the list as the previous actors, the aforementioned actors, Johnny Depp, Colin Farrell, Ryan Gosling, John Hamm, Ethan Hawke, Jack Houston, Oscar Isaac, who is a top runner for many fans. Like many fans wanted to see a Doctor Strange that was not a traditional, you know, white actor. And he was very much a favorite because I remember seeing oodles of poodles of Oscar Isaac manipulations as Doctor Strange. And I was like, yeah, actually, yeah. But you know what? Moon Knight?
He's Moon Knight.
She's Moon Knight now. I'm good with that
and
one.
That looks
so 100%.
crazy.
Like
I can't. I'm waiting for. I mean, obviously we've seen like the little tease and stuff, and him and maybe I think in the costume once. But I'm ready for the. I'm ready for the writing.
Those fight scenes.
I'm ready for like the dialogue.
Gosh. Yeah.
Because I heard like he's like the dialogue is like
Schizo.
Deadpool-esque.
Yes.
So
there's a lot of voices going on in Moon Knight.
Oh, because he's a schizophrenic. That's right.
He's schizophrenic.
Yes.
So it's gonna be.
I'm excited to see where it takes place in the MCU.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Matthew McConaughey.
Interesting.
Hey. Ewan McGregor, Keanu Reeves. Speaking of, and Justin Theroux. Interesting list. Like, sure. It's like, and it goes all over the board. It's like, okay, you have all these guys with different acting chops and different looks, and it's tough, but I think they made a great choice. And then, last but not least, some suggested reading for you. Doctor Strange 2015. This is the one I'm most familiar with, and it was written by Jason Aaron, who has done many a great title, with art by Chris Bacalo, who is kind of like, oh man, he's been around for a long time too, and he has a very specific style. It's really great. Also, Tim Townsend, Alvey, Mark Irwin, and Corey Pettit are all on that book. Strange Academy, which I actually mentioned in another episode, which is essentially an academy for younger up-and-coming sorcerers that is founded by Strange. He is like the professor.
Professor X.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah, actually,
nice.
it's quite literally that. And he's gotten like powers. He's gotten it powered by, I think, Hoggoth. Like they're supplied with unlimited magic ability.
Nice.
And as long with the stipulation that when a challenge comes to them, they're ready. That's how they keep supplementing themselves. Mm-hmm. Written by Scotty Young, who does all the chibi, cute little comic book character versions of characters, with art by Humberto Ramos and Edgar Delgado, who are Spider-Man faves. And then, of course, the most recent title that I haven't caught up with yet, but The Death of Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're telling me about this.
Just came out in December, I think, October or December, with Jed McKay at the helm, with art by Lee Garbett and Antonio Fabella.
Nice.
So, that's it.
Nice.
So was your Doctor Strange palette like satiated at all?
I mean, I
didn't
know a lot about all that stuff in the comics, and then and the movies. In the movies, it's very like just him.
Yeah.
Him and then
him.
Boom, a couple branches here and there.
Yeah.
But nothing really too,
I would love to see anything that we have mentioned. I can't wait for when they finally start dropping these essential characters to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, with DS2 coming out in May, and then after seeing that first trailer, it's just like, there's so many things that can like happen. Mm-hmm. It's just like, you don't know what it, I mean, we have, like, I don't know much about America Chavez, so I'm excited to learn about like that character and like her powers and her and how she interacts, and just, but then seeing Doctor Strange and Wanda kind of come together. And
by the way, America, she's more or less Kate's girlfriend, or has been, more or less.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see all the dynamics that kind of get like massaged out in the sequel, but also even more excited to see like Raimi's touch on it. Yeah,
that's the big one, right?
And like, and then Scott's an EP on the movie too, which is great. But then you have Raimi's directing. Like, I mean, I think.
Question for you, real quick: do you think Toby might be in that film just because Sam Raimi's attached? Like, we know Ted Raimi is going to be in it somewhere. He's going to be in it, and maybe
honestly, wishful thinking. I think it'd be just hilarious.
Wouldn't it be great?
I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
But I mean, because like there quick side like tangent where, because Sam Raimi directed the Toby ones, the Toby Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
And then there was this breakdown on YouTube where it's saying like how Sam Raimi did horror in Spider-Man 2, but like it's not horror, but he made it feel like a horror movie. And it was that surgical scene in Spider-Man 2. Yeah. Yep. Where the tentacles just have like their own mind of their own. They attacked all the doctors and stuff.
Even the way that they, not to go down Dr. Octopus land, but in the vein of Sam Raimi, the way that cinematically, and I haven't even seen Spider-Man 2 for years, but it's that imprinted because it was so good. Yeah, it's that scene, like the way that the mechanics, and of course it was practical. The way that
which made it even better.
The shot of the frame, like, and it coming in, and like the music that's underneath it, and the
Here's the thing, there wasn't even any music playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what made it so like visceral.
And that makes sense.
And it made it like all you hear is like all you hear is the screams, and all you hear is the whirring of the tentacles, and like no music and just straight sound design.
It was so ominous. And it's so like
exactly.
Whoa. Yeah, he's
and
good.
that's why it's like okay, now you have Sam Raimi. Now you have Sam Raimi doing Doctor Strange.
Exactly.
Evil Doctor Strange. Evil Wanda. I know. Chumagorath. So,
oh God.
I'm excited for it just because I'm excited to see Wanda's full power, but then also see Doctor Strange at like he's a mature like sorcerer now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then with like the evil Doctor Strange, so all these different like powerful sorcerers are coming into play.
Yeah.
And it's like where you're like, okay, who has the upper hand? Like we know how powerful Wanda is, but we also know how powerful Doctor Strange is. Yeah. So what kind of power dynamic are we going to see? Yeah. And what are each person's intentions?
God, it's going to be so good.
I'm excited for that because it's like we saw what's possible in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to see like, okay, if this is Spider-Man No Way Home, what's going to happen in multiverse?
And that's why it pains me that it got delayed. Like,
I know it was supposed to come out in February.
Exactly.
Holy
it was going to be like,
happy
birthday to me.
Now it's happy birthday to me.
It's happy birthday to you. Exactly.
And I was like, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be great.
I would have loved to seen it sooner, but sure, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
I guess it'll be their summer blockbuster then.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
But yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for it.
So, I mean, speaking of delays, our next episode, I believe, was slated to be Morbius.
It was.
But now with the delay, if you weren't aware, Morbius has been delayed till April 1st. Yeah. So, who are you feeling, Jeff? Who are you feeling for the next episode? Because I have, again, I've mentioned this at the end of the last, 2 or 3 episodes, I think, aside from the mashup. I mean, Kate, Yelena, Thor, Hulk.
I mean, we can do characters. Like I said, we haven't covered all of the OGs
yet.
Yeah.
So it might be time for Thor, maybe.
I mean, maybe, Maybe we can do a Thor.
Yeah.
And obviously, his movie is not coming out till next year, right?
Next year. No, Love and Thunder. I thought it was summer. That was July.
I feel like it's November now.
Is it November now? Let me see. I have them written down somewhere.
So, I mean, I'm down for Thor. He has enough. He's been in the MCU, long enough for us to...
I still have July. Maybe I'm wrong. I have Black Panther for November. Yeah.
Okay.
So...
And I would like to discuss Thor's journey in Endgame because a lot of people hate it.
It was necessary. My sister too. We just rewatched that for Christmas, and I was just like, "You have to understand.
You gotta understand where this man's coming from, okay? Is it
capital D depression?
Is it funny? Yeah,
no, it's funny,
like,
but it's also
they just turned Thor into this.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, look, same thing with Hulk. They're like, oh my god, they just turned Hulk, and I'm just like. Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it, but just bear with. Okay, so I would love to.
Okay.
Wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
And he has enough, content on the screen to where you can be like,
sure.
So,
big old deep dive on that guy.
Yeah.
So if you have any suggestions, please let us know. I'm reserving February for Gwen Stacy, so that's coming up. Whether or not anybody's ready. She's coming up.
Oh, and then into the Spider-Verse, across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I know. We might get something before then. Who knows? Yeah. Other than that, thank you for listening.
Woo.
We Are Groot. Salute the first of 22 Woo. To Laura, Ashley, Melanie, Robin, Joliz, Nats, Ariel, Claire, Ed, the Arachnerd, Jenny, and Andrew.
Thank you, guys.
Make sure to follow us on social at STRKCNTRST. Remember, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And also, don't forget to leave a review or rate us. That'd be awesome and helpful. It helps
out a lot. You may think it doesn't, but it does.
Yeah, it does so much, truly. And of course, if you like what you hear, subscribe.
Woo!
So that's it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Doctor Strange. Bye.
You cannot do this forever.
Actually, I can. This is how things are now. You and me trapped in this moment endlessly.
Then you will spend eternity dying.
Yes. But everyone on Earth will live.
But you will suffer.
Pain's an old friend.
La la.
Record?
Yeah.
I'm recording.
Recording.
We're testing out this new gear.
New gear.
Thank you in part to our Patreon patrons. You guys are the best fucking people in the world. Oh my God, you have no idea how excited I am just be using this. The freedom, the quality.
Now we
I
have-
am in control.
What have you done?
Yeah.
Oh God. Rocket's like, what is happening? Well, at least now we have a bonus.